Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the May 17th meeting of the Oceanside City Council. I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order. It's a pretty exciting meeting this did I say afternoon or evening? Somewhere in between there, right? So I'd like to go ahead and begin with our roll call.
Mayor
Mr.
Sanchez.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Kime.
Here.
Councilmember Joyce.
Present.
Councilmember Robinson.
Here.
Councilmember Weiss.
Here. Please stand for the invocation. We have today Pastor Amanda McGlynn of the King of Kings Lutheran Church.
Let us pray. God, who we call by many names, we thank you for each and every person who is gathered here in this room. We thank you for the community that you have called us into, for the work that you have called us to do. Lord, today I ask that you open all of our hearts. Help us to see the need around us and help us to act for the love of our neighbors. Help us to discern what needs to be done and feel your Holy Spirit moving and guiding us to make the right decisions. Lord, for all these things, for the prayers of our hearts left unspoken, we lift them to you. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Pastor Amanda. Next is our Pledge of Allegiance, and Councilmember Rick Robinson, if you could lead us, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, and you can be seated. And we have a few proclamations this evening. First, I'd like to call down the American Legion Auxiliary, Oceanside, Unit 146. Come on down. We've got Leah, and we have Lorna de la Cruz. Lorna is a veteran, OHS, class of 74. OHS, we are the best, no. And she's also, she retired from the Air Force. So today is, or I should say, we are celebrating today the proclamation in honor of National Poppy Day, which is May 26, 2023. And the proclamation reads, whereas poppies are worn and displayed as a symbolic tribute to our fallen and the future of living veterans and service members, and whereas at the end of World War I, the American Legion adopted the poppy as a symbol of freedom and the blood sacrificed by troops in war times, and whereas the use of the poppy symbolically comes from the poem In Flanders Fields, which movingly begins, in Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, referring to the poppies that sprang up in the churned earth of battlefields across Belgium and France, where soldiers died fighting. And whereas the American Legion family has long utilized the red poppy as its official flower, symbolizing the blood shed by those who have served in our U.S. military. And it is fitting that as the American Legion and American Legion Auxiliary recently celebrated their 100th anniversary in 2019, right? They expanded the meaning and symbolism of the poppy, mirroring the manner in which the poppy is symbolically showcased in England and Canada in celebratory fashion on the Remembrance Day, also known as Armistice Day and Poppy Day. And whereas wearing the poppy will unite citizens from across the country who decide to show their patriotism, and whereas the city of Oceanside has always shared a very special relationship with and strong ties to Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton, Camp Joseph H. Pendleton, the site of the Corps' largest amphibious assault training facility, as well as with our military families and veterans. And whereas American Legion Auxiliary 146 has requested that May 26, 2023 be designated as National Poppy Day in the city of Oceanside. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Sanchez, on behalf of the city of Oceanside, do hereby proclaim May 26, 2023 as National Poppy Day in the city of Oceanside, and encourage all citizens, residents, and visitors to join in observing this day by honoring every service member who has died in the name of liberty, freedom, and democracy, while also showing their support for living veterans, service members, and their families. Who would like to speak? And we have already distributed the poppies to the council.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mayor Sanchez, and all of the council members. Over the years, they've shown devotion and support, and I know many of you are connected to military members who have sacrificed their lives. So to those men and women, we will never forget. And thank you, Oceanside community, for the support.
Well, we did provide the poppies. I was hoping that you guys would honor us by wearing them. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, and please, on that day, please remember a day that we should never forget. Thank you. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Leah. Thank you, Lorna. Next, if we could please have Public Works Director Hamid Bahadori come down along with his team, because it is National Public Works Week, May 21st to 27th.
Stop to join us down here.
Yes, please. These are guys that you may have seen around town, and they're working really, really hard for the city of Oceanside. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure and facilities and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of the city of Oceanside. And whereas these infrastructure facilities and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in the city of Oceanside to gain knowledge of and to maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2023 marks the 63rd annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association, Canadian Public Works Association. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Sanchez, on behalf of the City of Oceanside, do hereby designate the week of May 21st to 27th, 2023 as National Public Works Week, urging all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designated or designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life. Thank you guys for everything you do.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, the Honorable Mayor and members of City Council. On behalf of 125 wonderful staff members in the Public Works Department, I would like to thank you for the recognition. It's a pleasure. This is one of the greatest, maybe the greatest team I've ever worked with in my professional life. I'm proud of every single one of 125 of them. And this year was exceptionally difficult for Public Works. We got more than double the rainfall for the first 3 months of 23 that we did for the average any year. And it took a toll. I mean, a lot of these people were working out there late, potholes, sinkholes, broken tree branches, and all kinds of challenges. And the team delivered, and I'm very proud of them. And we appreciate your recognition and the proclamation. And I would like to thank you and every single individual members of City Council and the city manager, our wonderful city manager, for all your collective leadership and support for public works programs and projects. Looking forward to many more wonderful years. Thank you.
Thank you. So you said 125? Okay, each person's going to say their name and the department, right? Their title.
Okay. Jessica Farrell, Parking Enforcement Supervisor.
Nathan Mertz, Public Works Division Manager.
Howard LaGrange in Traffic, Bike and Ped Coordinations.
Kimberly Duffin, Senior Property Agent.
Vicki Gutierrez, Real Estate Manager.
Joe Ravitch, Harbor Division Manager.
Joe is the newest member of our team, and he started only a few days ago. We're very happy to have him.
Juan Soriano, Maintenance Specialist, Streets Department.
Tony Visco, Senior Building Maintenance Supervisor.
Adam Thompson, Parking Enforcement Officer.
Elijah Serrato, Parking Enforcement Officer.
Ryan Robinson, Maintenance Worker, Streets Department.
Leif Johnson, Maintenance Worker for Streets Department.
Rosales, Maintenance Specialist, Streets Department.
Chris Laws, Maintenance Worker, Streets Department.
Andrew Sosa, Maintenance Worker for Parks Department.
Dave Harrison, Maintenance Worker, Parks Department.
Mark Sabelis, Street Supervisor, Public Works.
Thank you guys for everything you do for us every day out there. Thank you. So can we have a picture?
Come closer. Let's take a picture.
Can you get us? Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So the last thing here is a very, very, very special tribute to a business and a couple and staff, awesome staff, who have graced our city of Oceanside and have really just pushed us to the next level. I'd like to have, if Chef Mark is here, no, Miss Kim, and all of the folks of That Boy Good and their supporters, come on up. Come on down. This is for Miss Kim. Dad is here? Dad is here. Hi, Dad. Yeah, Kumar, I mean, why are you walking so slow?
It just goes there to drink.
All right, this is a proclamation in honor of That Boy Good. You may wonder why we're doing this, and it'll be made very clear once you listen to this proclamation. Whereas That Boy Good restaurant, named after an old Southern slang term for good food and good music, opened in 2012 at 207 North Coast Highway by Chef Mark and Miss Kim Millwood, hands-on family owners and operators. And whereas Chef Mark and Miss Kim created history by bringing their awesome Mississippi barbecue to downtown Oceanside, one of the first restaurants to pave the way for revitalization of the city's downtown. And whereas by 2016, community response to That Boy Good was so great, TBG expanded by opening inside Northern Pine Brewing, renaming the North Coast Highway restaurant Miss Kim's That Boy Good. And whereas Chef Mark, Miss Kim, and their amazing restaurant staff have been serving up Southern hospitality to Oceanside, the region, and visitors for 11 years. And whereas Miss Kim's TBG has been home for the New Orleans Saints fan base in Oceanside. And whereas Ms. Kim has served on the Main Street Oceanside Board of Directors since 2014 and Main Street Promotions Committee from 2013 to 2017. Whereas Ms. Kim was instrumental in helping Main Street Oceanside inaugurate Taste of Oceanside in 2014. And whereas That Boy Good hosted several youth and family events for Club Crown Heights youth programs. In addition, funds raised from Ms. Kim's That Boy Good Ceiling Tile fundraiser program benefited after-school programs, field trips, and soccer tournament fees for Club Crown Heights youth. And whereas Ms. Kim's That Boy Good will be closing its doors on May 28th, 2023, and That Boy Good will be closing the end of June, marking the end of a beloved, extremely successful and popular barbecue and cold beer restaurant business. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Esther Sanchez, on behalf of the City of Oceanside and That Boy Good huge fan base everywhere, do hereby proclaim May 28th, 2023 as That Boy Good Day in the City of Oceanside. With tremendous gratitude for your enormous contributions to our city and community. We will deeply, and I mean deeply and profoundly, miss your chicken wings, brisket, gumbo, ribs, pulled pork, popcorn shrimp, dirty fries, collard greens, catfish, smoked beans, crossroads cups, oh I love that, waffles, cornbread, Bloody Marys, ice cold beer, and the best service in town. Best wishes on your next journey. I know it's going to be here in Oceanside, and Oceanside loves you. I'm going to give you the mic.
Okay. I can't thank everybody enough because when we started here, Oceanside was, there was a lot going on that street. There was a lot of unfriendly people. And I just started knocking on the doors, and Gomaro, I remember showing up to my door one day, and he says, I want you to be part of Main Street, and I didn't even hesitate. This town, I have told every single person that this is the place you want to open a business. I love it. It has nothing to do with Oceanside, why we're closing. I absolutely embrace Oceanside. The city has been amazing, especially during COVID. I can't thank you enough for everything you've done. Main Street Oceanside, I don't know if you guys know, I've been on the board for years, and they are amazing. And the Visit Oceanside in the chamber. I just really, and my staff, amazing. So my friends, everybody, thank you. I'm staying here, but thank you.
Yes, she is. So it's a small token of our appreciation, and just want to say thank you to everyone. I know your staff was very much a part of this dream that you had, and I remember hearing that you were thinking about doing a blues club on top. And I mean, there's just so much that we can do here in Oceanside. Know that certain things just became untouchable because of whatever state laws, darn those state laws, right? But Kim, you are wonderful, and your energy, and I know that we're going to be right behind you when you start your next journey. Thank you. Thank you. So picture time. Picture time. Yes. How can we do this? Yeah?
Oh.
Okay. So see, there was more direction here. Yeah. Barbecue. Barbecue. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh. All right. So again, May 28th is the last day, so everyone has to come by.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
We have a couple of other kind of announcements, but I'm first going to do, let's see, closed session. by Mr. Mullen. That's
Thank
item
you.
number 3.
Council met to discuss item 2A on the closed session agenda in the matter of Thornton versus City of Oceanside, case number 3722, 2022, 1303. There is no reportable action under the Brown Act yet at this time on item 2. There was no meeting on item 1.
Thank you. And then we're going to go ahead and do our consent calendar. Are there any requests to pull from the public?
There is no request to pull from the public.
Okay. There's a motion to approve the consent calendar, items 4 through 20.
I have a request
Is there
to
a
pull.
motion?
Mayor, I'd like to pull item 8.
8. Okay.
6 and 7 as well.
What was it?
6 and 7.
Okay, 6 and 7. Okay, is there a motion to approve the balance?
Move the
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second? Okay, there's a motion and a second. And just before we move approval of the balance, I just want to make a really quick statement on item number 16. This is acceptance of $671,000 in grant funds from the California Arts Council. This is our cultural arts, the whole idea of Oceanside becoming a cultural arts district and making it happen and be a reality. This is the results of their phenomenal efforts, and that is getting $671,000. So, and that was awarded to the city to support the Oceanside, California Cultural Arts District programs and activities, and appropriation of these funds to the library department. Okay, there's a motion and second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Item number, I think it was 6. 6 is approval of change order 4 in the amount of $206,453 to Jilk Heavy Construction, Inc. for the gas line replacement for the pier utility replacement project. Approval of Amendment 3 to the professional services agreement with Richard Brady and Associates for gas line design services in the amount of $21,500 for total compensation not to exceed $1.2 million, authorization for the city engineer, to execute the change order, and authorization for the city manager to execute the amendment upon receipt of all supporting documents. And that was pulled by Councilmember Joyce.
Yeah. So we received some public feedback about using natural gas line on the pier. Since we're replacing the line anyway, we're getting rid of the line to replace it. Do we have language within our climate action plan that that advises or moves the city away from using natural gas whenever possible?
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, Nathan Mertz, Public Works Division Manager. I'm going to defer the climate action plan question to the Development Services Director.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members. The current cap does not call for the city to pursue electrification. However, with updating the cap, we could look at specific energy efficiency improvements and see how those are possible in the city.
Okay. So for me, it's when I see items like this come forward, it's more of an opportunity for us to do the right thing first instead of doing it one way and then having to redo it again later. So I'm going to make a motion to continue this to a future meeting once we've considered other options instead of natural gas on the pier.
Is there a time is of the essence issue here?
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, there is a time of the essence matter with this. The existing restaurant is under an existing lease agreement, and it's the city's obligation to supply all utilities to the restaurant that's out there right now. The restaurant has already purchased gas equipment, and it's already in place through inspections of the under portions of the pier that we're able to have now with the utility replacement. We realize there's a life expectancy of that gas line, and there's a cost benefit to take care of that gas line now that we're underneath there and take care of everything at once. So it is the city's obligation to supply all those utilities for the restaurant, and they've already put all their equipment into gas. as of now. So that's why we're moving forward with this.
Okay. Thank you.
I move approval. I made a move approve. Okay,
think
is
it
there,
died for
there's
the
no
second,
second
yeah.
to it. So I'm making a motion to approve item number 6. Okay, there's a motion and a second. Please vote. Okay.
Motion approved 4-1. Joyce Snow.
Thank you. Item number 7 is approval of Amendment 1 to the professional services agreement with California Waters Development, Inc. in the amount of $86,200 for a revised contract amount of $1.2 million for design build services for the Brook Street Swim Center renovations project. Authorization for contingencies in the amount of $114,120 or 10% of the construction costs. Authorization for the city engineer to execute the change orders up to 10% of the contract costs for a total cost of $1.3 million. Appropriation of $124,751 from the Parks and Rec Fees Fund 598, and authorization for the city manager to execute the amendment. And this was, okay, Councilmember Joyce.
Same request. It was electrification of this, of the pump underneath the pool considered in the project at all?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. My name is Kimberly Corbin, Associate Engineer with the Development Services Department. Unfortunately, all electric pool heaters for commercial pool settings are not an industry standard at this point. So we did speak with our contractor. They have not seen an all-electric heater at this point. And then I will actually refer to Manuel Gonzalez, Parks and Rec Director. He also did research. There are no all-electric pool heaters in San Diego County as well. And he additionally reached out to one of the heater manufacturers, Raypac, and they confirmed that they do not make all-electric pool heaters for a commercial setting at this time. In addition, if we were to look at doing an all-electric pool heater, we would need to request additional added services from SDG&E because the current electrical infrastructure at Brook Street Pool could not handle an all-electric pool heater.
Okay, thank you.
I guess we don't have the engineering yet for that. Oh, there's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to approve. Oh, Councilmember Weiss, did you wish to speak?
I was just going to say, I got those same emails, and I understand people's passion with getting away from natural gas, which, I mean, we just, not that long ago, pushed for CNG for waste management. I support the use of ongoing natural gas in certain circumstances, and I think for commercial settings, we're going to need to continue to use it. So I'll support the current motion as it exists.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion approved 5-0.
Thank you. Item number 8 is approval of Amendment 1 to the professional services agreement with STK Architecture in the amount of $64,845 for a revised contract amount of $1 million for the design of a 4th vehicle bay and low-voltage electrical services for the new Fire Station Number 8 project, and authorization for the city manager to execute the amendment. And this was?
That was me.
Okay.
So I have a question for staff and for the chief. Currently, Station 8 has a single engine. In the staff report, it indicates that ultimately with the new 8, it's going to include a 4-person ladder truck, an engine, and a BC vehicle with an additional ambulance. What is and I think it's planned for the future, but what is the estimated annual operating increase for those additional personnel?
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, David Parsons, Fire Chief. Councilmember Weiss, we're currently in the middle of a standard of cover study, which is going to actually identify those particular costs. The studies and the master plans we're working under are from 2007 and 2012. They have the numbers there, but they're clearly not up to date to today's standards. So at this point, we're in the planning stage, and once the standard of cover study comes in, we'll have those exact numbers prepared.
So ultimately, there would be an increase in staffing costs by including all these different positions?
If we are approved for those positions and there's funding for those positions, then yes, clearly there would be. They're not a part of this staff report at the moment.
Thank you. I'll move approval of staff recommendation.
There's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and call forward Charlene Moore, who is going to speak, and this is item 25A, advance written request to reserve time to speak. She had asked for a presentation under the beginning of the meeting, and this is on the 2023 San Diego County Fair.
All right, thank you. Good evening, Mayor Sanchez and esteemed members of the council. Thank you for having me here this evening. So as was said, I am Carlene Moore. I'm the CEO of the 22nd District Agricultural Association, which is a mouthful, more commonly known as the Del Mar Fairgrounds, and proudly known as producing the San Diego County Fair, which is just 3 weeks away from opening today. So we've got a lot going on, and I'm really excited to be here tonight to share with you, just kind of give you a little bit of a taste of what is in store when everybody gets out there to the San Diego County Fair this year. So first up, would just like to share a brief video with you. No.
Okay, it's usually a little more crowded than that, okay?
Right. You don't get to camp on the Midway this year. Yeah. But with that, our theme this year is really about getting out there to explore our county. And we're really excited about it with our theme exhibit because on hand we are going to have just local experts and just outdoor enthusiasts that are on hand to really help engage our community, to learn more about our county, to grow within it. But before getting out there to the fair, and in partnership with California State Parks and the County of San Diego Parks and Recreation, we have our Get Out There Challenge. And this really is about getting out into the community to explore. And so with, you can see the information here on the slides, but with 3 visits to regional parks in the area, snap a selfie, come to the fair, and earn a badge. And so with that, again, get out there, explore the county, but also get out there and explore our fair. So, in addition to everything that our county has to offer, here's just kind of a taste of what we have going on at the fair this year. And as you can see, we have a variety of grandstand entertainment, covers a variety of genres from, pop and rock to comedy, country, a little bit of everything in between. One thing to note about our grandstand stage shows is that the cost of those is not included with fair admission, but when a person buys a ticket to the grandstands, it includes everything that the fair has to offer. And speaking of that, we offer a lot in terms of entertainment. We have over 250 community performers, other stages and band acts that are performing. This just gives you an indication on our paddock concert series. We also have grounds entertainment. We have wandering and strolling performers, everything from trapeze artists to jugglers to a piano that actually glides down the avenue while playing music for fairgoers. Also, as part of our camp schedule, we have a variety of festivals that take place within the fair, and we celebrate everything from music and heritage to inclusivity. And of course, we also have a few of what we like to call our farm to glass festivals, our beer, wine, and spirits tastings that take place as well. And kind of speaking of farms and agriculture, everyone who comes to the fair has an opportunity to really have their own personal discovery of agriculture while they're at the fair. From what you see here on this screen to our Ag Ventureland, which is a special kids area where they get an opportunity to interact and engage with agricultural education activities. In our California Grown exhibit, people can visit a camel dairy as well as the petting zoo. And we're really proud because this year our flower and garden show is back in full bloom. And just like any good summer camp that's out there, we also have the opportunity for folks to earn their badges through some of our friendly competitions. So So while visiting the fair, the opportunity to visit and explore all of these amazing and beautiful, whether it's works of art, it's collections, it's home and hobby, it's canning, it's preserves, it's quilt making, and so on. And just to really see, what your neighbors here in San Diego County, potentially your neighbor just next door, or you yourself have earned in the way of badges at the fair this year. Additionally, in many of these areas, and the schedule is different every day, so check out sdfair.com for that. But we have things like sidewalk chalk painting that's going on, and there are a variety of demonstrations. There are tours that are taking place. I think there's a s'mores competition this year. And lots of s'mores food. I'll get to that in a moment.
Heard that.
Some interest. But one of the things we're also really proud of is our youth engagement at the fair, and especially our Plant, Grow, Eat program, because this is a program that we actually start in the spring where we go out and we visit over 6,000 students at their schools and we introduce them to agriculture. Then we invite those students and their teachers back to the fair where they bring in the plants that they have been growing and cultivating from those seedlings that we gave them, and those are on display in our farm area in the infield at the fair. So in case all of that entertainment isn't enough for you, there's also always adventures in ride and food. So I have a full carnival this year with lots of great rides, including 2 new ones. So for those thrill seekers, small and tall, as well as everybody, of course, has the opportunity to get out there and test your abilities on games of skill to win those big prizes that we offer as well. But if you're looking for something that's more in the gastronomical adventure realm, then we offer over 100 various concession stands that offer up whether it's your fair favorites or some of these creative culinary delights.
Papas locas. Wow.
Yes. That's at the Tasty Chip stand. But you'll have plenty of time. There's lots of space to walk around, burn off, those sugary, sweet delights and things. But I also want to mention that this year we are also featuring, we'll be offering plant-based options from the Wicked Kitchen at the fair as well. So just like with our rides, we really have something to offer for everybody. Is that my time?
No, go ahead. Okay. You're almost finished, right? Go ahead.
Okay.
You're enticing all of us to go, right?
Thank you. That's what I'm after here. So one thing we want to do is help everybody, how do we get you out there? How do we get everyone out to the fair? And there are a number of options. Here are parking options, on-site and off-site. Some are free, some are discount. Buy online. We are cashless for our admissions and parking. So please, buy ahead of time versus having to wait, use reverse ATMs, things of that nature. But we also offer public transportation as well. So the Fair Tripper is back, and this is where for the cost of a fair admission, day of, you can buy it at the train station or on the Pronto app, ride to the Solano Beach train station, and so it includes your trip on the coaster, the Sprinter, the Breeze, as well as then that shuttle and admission into the fair. So this really is the best deal in town. But in addition to that, we also are offering the Route 101 and the 308 buses, again, to the Solano Beach train station, and with your ticket, show that ticket that day, you get the free shuttle then to the fair. It's just that you have to pay for fair admission separately on that. And so finally, and speaking of admissions, we really have worked hard to make the fair affordable as always. These are our standard admission fees. And so again, buy online at sdfair.com. We truly do believe with everything that we have to offer at the fair, it is the best entertainment deal in town. And we try to make it affordable each and every year, including these various deals and discounts. So shopping at Albertsons or Vons, you can get a $3 discount. We have our Kids Days, which every Friday, kids 12 and under are free. Every day, kids 5 and under are free to the fair. We have opportunities for the kind of wristband or pay one price days, on Wednesdays and Thursdays. There's so many ways to save and to come to the fair, and we just really encourage everybody to do that because, again, we really want our entire community to be able to celebrate with us and to get out there. So with that, thank you very much for your time this evening, and I also want to mention to all of you as council members to please watch your inbox for a special invitation to join us for one of our summer socials during the fair, because we really want to help you also get out there. Thank you.
Got that, everybody? It's get out there, right? That's the theme, right? So thank you very much, Charlene. Thank you for the invitation, for all those.
And you're all invited too.
All those pictures of food, okay, yeah. The big enticement. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Another request to speak, actually it's an invitation, Max Disposti, Pride by the Beach.
Thank you, Mayor. We don't have the flashy presentations because we weren't prepared, but...
You don't have pictures of food? What?
Now the county fair took the spotlight, thank you, but we partner with them. They're amazing allies and supporter. So we're here just to share, we don't have the slides, but Pride by the Beach as an event is coming up 2 weeks from now. It's in Oceanside. It's been in Oceanside for about 17 years. I'm the founder, as long as the executive director of North County LGBTQ Resource Center. Roxanne, our Pride director, will show a little bit more, tell you the story about Pride and what the impact that Pride has had in our business community and the incredible sponsorships and supporters that we had in the past few years and this year. Just to give you an idea, it is the Pride season opening in Oceanside, and then we will have amazing other Pride events, including the biggest in California, which is San Diego Pride. So the whole business community, the partners are looking at us and their representations in Oceanside. My job, it was more like to make sure that people remember that our Pride festivities are not just a party. And by the way, it's a family-friendly party. We'll have a lot of school districts coming, and a lot of kids will be with us. But it's also an opportunity to support the work that the LGBT Center is doing in this community, in particular in North San Diego County. So I wanted to share a few data just to give you an idea of what Pride does among the other supporters. In the past few years alone, 5 or so, the LGBT Center is putting back into the community Oceanside between $4 to $5 million in investments in employment, support, and family efforts and coordination efforts to support family needs. We provide over 5,000 hours of clinical hours every year. We have put permanently housed close to 25 youth just in 1 year. We are the leading agency on human trafficking prevention, especially when it comes to youth, in partnerships with North County Lifeline. I have so many numbers. We do a lot of the work in supporting families and homeless youth. One of the latest news that we had is the state of California appreciated our work with Unicorn Homes. For those of you who don't know, Unicorn Homes is our program that coordinates with families that are providing a safe place or a room for our homeless youth. And they are piloting that program throughout the state of California because of the use of resources and how much little we have been able to help. So know that Oceanside has been producing all of that. Pride is just one day of fun, but behind Pride, there is a lot of work that the LGBT Center is doing, including making sure that our community is standing up and paying attention of the fact that there is a lot of hate out there. We're partnering with the San Diego County to promote educational training. We are paid by the San Diego County to do this training throughout San Diego, and also with the San Diego County of Educations to make sure that our kids are safe elsewhere, because we want to make sure we represent everyone. With that, I would like just a minute and a half for Roxanne to share with you what's going to happen with Pride.
And that's June 3rd, Saturday.
Thank you, Mayor. June 3rd from noon to 6 p.m. We have a lot of senators, elected officials coming, including our mayors. They're all invited to be on the stage around 12:30 to be recognized as well. Roxanne?
So last year was our first year back from COVID. We had 20,000 people in downtown Oceanside from 12 to 6 p.m. We were not expecting it. In 2019, ours was 8,000. So we went from 8,000 to 20,000 in 1 year back since COVID. We had a huge reach out from our business community. There's Oceanside is a sponsor this year, the Mission Pacific, High-Low. Those are just a few of our local ones that have really wanted to join forces with us because we brought so many people in. I personally talked to people from LA, Riverside County, Orange County, we had 2 charter buses full of families from an LA junior college that drove all the way down to Oceanside just for our event, because we are the only free family-friendly pride event in all of Southern California. And so it's really important that our businesses and our town sees that we are bringing people in and they are out spending their money, because we all like to spend money and go out to eat. The Coco Cabana and the Brick Hotel is a new one this year. They're throwing us all day. They're giving us a give back. They're really supportive. They're going to be part of our whole North County Resource Center for the whole entire year. As of today, we have 120 vendors signed up for June 3rd. That's including people from Utah, Arizona, Nevada, Idaho. So we have about 10 out-of-state people that are coming in. We are full of school districts. We have a youth zone that's amazing, put together by North County Resource Center. But this year, we are very excited with 2 full stages of entertainment from 12 to 6 p.m. We have a big headliner named DJ Inspire. She's an Oceanside local that grew up here, went to high school here. She's now in LA living her best life on radio, touring, but she's coming and she's giving her time and effort to our community to give back. So it's going to be an amazing day.
Thank you so much. Again, that's June 3rd.
12 to 6.
12 to 6.
Yes.
At
Pierview Way and
Pierview Way.
Highway.
Fantastic.
All the way, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Madam Mayor, could I ask a question?
Yeah, you have a question?
Yeah. So I thank you for presenting. I love how much the center gives back to our city. I would love it for our city to find some way to show support for this family-friendly organization, this family-friendly draw that brings so many people to our city. What would we have to do do a rainbow crosswalk for the month of June? Could we do that?
This is an item's not on the agenda.
Oh, it's not in order?
Yeah, we'd have to put that on the agenda if you wanted to take action on that.
And we don't have one before June 3rd, do we?
No.
Do you have a workshop?
No.
Okay, no. You'd have to
We
call
can
a meeting.
discuss it.
Okay. I think it's a great idea. Hopefully we
Yeah.
can do that.
Yeah. Okay, with what is it called? Sidewalk chalk. So another thing really quickly, I wanted our Public Works Director, Hamid Bahadouri, to introduce our new harbor manager, Joe Ravitch. Is he still here? I guess he's
Honorable
not.
Mayor, I think Mr. Ravitch left for the
Darn
night.
it.
But I will
Okay.
make sure that he knows that you recognize him again. Thank you.
All right, we'll introduce him at the next meeting. Okay, general items. Item number 21, approval of a 2-year professional services agreement with Circuit in amount of $573,000 per year to operate an electric vehicle shuttle program serving downtown Oceanside. Appropriation of $223,000 from the general fund unassigned fund balance fund, and authorization for the city manager to execute the agreement. And we have a report by Michelle Geller, our Economic Development Manager.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Michelle Geller, Economic Development Manager, here to present an electric vehicle shuttle program for downtown Oceanside. As the Mayor just mentioned, the recommendation is to approve a 2-year agreement with Circuit in an amount of $573,000 per year to operate an electric vehicle shuttle program serving downtown Oceanside, appropriate $223,000 from the general fund unassigned fund balance, and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement. So for some background, last April, City Council approved an agreement with Circuit to run a similar pilot program from June to December using ARPA money. At the conclusion of that pilot program, Circuit conducted a rider survey and got over 800 responses with overall extremely positive feedback about the program.
It's very popular, huh?
Indeed. This is a photo of the shuttle, branded and wrapped with funding and graphic design services provided by Visit Oceanside. The shuttle seats 5 passengers plus the driver. Everyone has a seatbelt and their own door for safety and ease of boarding. This is the service area. It's delineated by the red dotted line here. It's similar to last year's pilot program. It serves the area west of the 5 to the harbor and north to the harbor and south to Vista Way. And then with one exception for this time is that it would serve the east side neighborhood. So just some highlights from the survey I mentioned. Without any paid advertising and not even having the shuttles wrapped yet, they were just blank white shuttles that just started driving around. We had 1,800 riders the first week and ended up with an average of over 7,000 riders per month, which is quite high in comparison to other cities where Circuit operates. This infographic here shows some stats on the environmental benefits of the shuttle program, including saving over 1,600 gallons of gas and over 18 metric tons of greenhouse gas emissions. Just a few more highlights. 846 riders responded to the survey, the majority of whom were Oceanside residents. Half were older adults, and almost 90% of them used the shuttle to go to our restaurants. And 67% also reported that the shuttle helped to address parking challenges downtown. And then these are some rider comments included that the riders included with their survey responses. There was a family that reported they had a disabled child, and it was a huge help to have the shuttle, and it enabled the whole family to go out to dinner together. And then a senior rider without a car who commented that they would otherwise be spending much more money on Uber or Lyft. To highlight some of the more notable points in the staff report that you have in front of you, SANDAG is very motivated to see micro-mobility strategies implemented in cities as part of their Flexible Fleets initiative. So they conducted a competitive procurement process earlier this year, and Circuit, who we used last year, was awarded a contract with SANDAG. Last year, Circuit mobilized extremely quickly and provided really high quality service for the duration of the program. As part of this SANDAG Flexible Fleets initiative, SANDAG has committed to providing the city with matching funds of up to $250,000 per year for 2 years. Unfortunately, the timing didn't line up quite right to bring that to you tonight for approval, as it's still going through the approval process on SANDAG's side, but we are very confident the funds will be forthcoming and anticipate bringing them to you in August. We also have Visit Oceanside's generous funding in the amount of $100,000 per year for 2 years. The board of Visit Oceanside has approved that funding, and we'll be bringing that to you next month for approval and acceptance. And then there are a few notable changes to the program, for this program as compared to the pilot, if you remember the pilot. First, the shuttles will run year-round. Last time they only ran during high season. So the proposed schedule is in the scope of work that you have there, and we can make adjustments to it as we see demand fluctuating, as it runs through the year. Second, in order to offset costs, we're proposing a fare of $3 per rider with a cap of $6 for groups of more than 2 riders. I did a quick comparison. If you want to get an Uber from the harbor down to Vista Way, it's about $12, not including the tip. So the $3 fare is, much lower than that. And then third, as I mentioned, the shuttle will serve the East Side neighborhood, which was not included last year. And then lastly, a wheelchair accessible shuttle will be available as part of the fleet. And then that fare offset I mentioned would generate around $114,000 per year. That would go toward, we budgeted for the full amount in this contract, but that would offset the cost to the city. Sorry. This slide breaks down the funding and revenue sources for the program and the total estimated costs for operating the program if we factor in the fare and the revenue offsets. We'll be working with SANDAG closely to monitor the program's performance and the costs, and we'll adjust as needed to make sure the matching funds go as far as possible. And then during that time, we'll also continue to work to identify other funding sources for the program beyond that 2-year period. So again, the recommendation is to approve a 2-year agreement with Circuit for $573,000 per year for the shuttle program, appropriate $223,000 from the general fund unassigned fund balance, and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement. So that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer questions, and then we also have Mark from Circuit here if you have any questions that I can't answer.
Hi, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any requests to speak from the public?
Yes, we do. Our first speaker is Janet Batchelor, to be followed by Barbara Collins, to be followed by Michelle Sir. Hopefully I pronounced it. Sorry. All right.
Janet? Yeah, you could use the other mic.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Janet Batchelor, Oceanside resident. I've ridden that. We love it. Thank you for bringing it back. I just would like to ask if the service area could be increased. I noticed it was increased this time for the East Side neighborhood. I'm wondering if it could just be increased around the senior center, and there's a workout facility, the gym that the seniors work out in as well. There's a post office there, and I just think if we could just increase that service area to include the seniors would be my recommendation.
You mean on Country Club Lane?
The Country Club Senior Center, there's the post office.
Right.
There's the Boys and Girls Club, the wellness center that seniors work out in.
Right.
I just think that there's probably a lot of seniors in the current area, the program area. There's probably a lot of seniors, Jimmy Knott maybe, would appreciate that, that could get to the Country Club Senior Center for lunch. Because I don't know if why that would be excluded. If we were able to expand it, then I don't know why we couldn't expand it a little further. So that was my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll ask staff after we get all the comments. Next is Barbara Collins.
Good evening, Mayor Sanchez and council members. I'm an Oceanside resident, and I'm here on behalf of the Sierra Club to thank you for this, for the city funding this and coordinating this shuttle. We think it's a great idea. And I heard that the next 2 years, the people that are coordinating this are going to be looking for additional funding to make it permanent. And that's why I'm here tonight, to ask you to ask the staff to work, and the staff that worked on this, and perhaps the planning department staff, to work on this over the next 2 years so that we have a sustainable, permanent shuttle service, because it's great. We all heard some of the great benefits of it, but it's a great, we have a good opportunity with the OTC redevelopment project. They have to have, it's a giant project with hundreds of new rental units, a hotel, stores, offices, et cetera, right at the premier transit hub for North County. And the OTC redevelopment will need a transportation demand management plan and some kind of sustainable funding for this shuttle would be a great part of a transportation demand management plan for OTC. It would help all the commuters coming in, or a lot of them anyway. It would be a good answer to that challenge to have the first and the last mile covered for any kind of a transit system. And I think that it could be a catalyst for other downtown employers if the OTC redevelopment project incorporates this into their transportation demand management plan. So we're asking you to be proactive, ask staff to be proactive, and let's have a sustainable permanent shuttle that benefits our residents and our visitors. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle Sire.
Hello, good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. I'm Michelle Sear.
Sorry.
Everybody mispronounces it. That's okay. And I also agree with what Barbara Collins and Janet Batchelor said, all of the things that they said. And I also want to thank you for funding and coordinating the downtown shuttle service relaunch for a 2-year stint. I'm also here to request that the city consider ways to make this a sustainable, permanent shuttle, as it offers so many benefits, reducing traffic and parking congestion, moving passengers around much more efficiently, and it ties in nicely with the OTC redevelopment project in moving those new residents to and from their homes and destinations. Thanks for your consideration on these issues.
Thank you, Ms. Schneider. That's it. As to the question about the area that is going to be operating, is it possible to expand it? Who would?
Mayor, we can look at that route. The shuttles can only go up to 35 miles per hour, so that's probably their main limitation, but we can have Circuit look at that and see if it can be included.
It's kind of it connects both the East Side and the Crown Heights, and Crown Heights, they're both already included, so it's basically bridging that part in the middle So that would be great if you could look at that.
Certainly.
Thank you. And any other questions? Of course, to make sure that it's sustainable, that's certainly that is the goal, right, for this pilot project. Okay, to the Councilmember Joyce.
I'm excited about the project in general. I just have a couple of questions to start. What do riders in other programs in other cities that are similar to this pay?
Mark, do you have that info?
Oh, yeah. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It varies based on each market. Some of them are free, such as currently downtown San Diego. But we have fares in other markets as low as usually around $2 average, but some are free.
Okay. And then from the survey, what was the favorite part about the pilot from the folks that took the survey?
The favorite part was that it was free.
Yeah. Well, $3. That's close.
So that kind of leads into my comments. I'm really excited, especially about the new boundaries that include the east side. I'm also excited about this project's contribution to our climate action goals as a city. When it was brought to us, we had a conversation, and the first thing I asked is, what is the major benefit to the people that live here, since we are footing a large portion of the bill? And to that, I support the full year model because I think that benefits our residents strongly. The full year.
Full year. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. We can go to 4. I mean, I don't know. The full year model versus a seasonal model. I think the program has a really big impact on businesses that are outside the immediate downtown area, which we have a lot of great areas in South O that can connect visitors and people who live in other areas of that part of our city to those businesses in a way that is seamless. I think I think since we're picking up that part of the bill, we have to, from my perspective, keep it as accessible as possible. Reduce every bit of friction that we can, because every bit of friction will reduce the ridership that we're going to see on the program. And if we want it to actually be successful, creating a seamless transition from stepping out your door to getting to the different part of town is really important. So for that reason, I'd like to make a motion, unless there's other comments.
So your motion is to approve?
My motion would be to approve with the adjustment to remove the fee for $3, because I think that creates a barrier for folks that are using it to, let's say folks in their neighborhood are using it to go get groceries. You immediately add a $6 charge because it's $3 each way, and that's assuming that they're riding alone. If you're, with somebody, then it becomes immediately less accessible for the daily use and the uses that people would have in their daily lives. And I want to make sure that our residents experience the most benefit from this program.
Is there a second to the motion? Councilmember Robinson?
Thank you. So the fee, is it paid through an app? Is it like an Uber app where you?
That's correct.
Okay. And is it $3 each trip, or is there some way of saying, hey, if I pay my $3, I can ride it all day?
Go ahead, Mark.
The idea right now would be $3 per trip with a cap for the amount of people in it, but we could always look into a cap. That's something we can.
The reason I'm asking is because I look at your calculations, and I'm assuming you're thinking $3 one way, $3 back, and that covers with the number of riders, you're getting that 114,000 or whatever. I'm sorry if I'm not getting the numbers right, but.
Correct.
Is it simple math? I mean, you just use something pretty simple, right?
Our calculation was based on about 4,000 riders a month. We ended up averaging about 7,000 riders a month, so we probably, underestimating the revenue that we can offset the total cost of the program. But yes, it was assuming $3 per ride.
Yeah, and just to get to Council Member Joyce's point, I differ a little bit. I think paying something is okay, but if there was some way to say, you pay one time and, you know, it covers you all day, I think that'd be maybe a little more fair. I don't know if that's possible, but I just throw that out there.
That is something we could visit, like a day pass.
Yeah.
The tech doesn't have it, we don't have it built in today, but obviously we could look at that.
Yeah, I don't know.
One other benefit, just to throw that in, of having some type of fare is demand management. So you have fewer ride cancellations. You know, you just have few. We did have some circumstances of some riders just kind of hopping on at the harbor and taking it for a ride down to Vista Way and just kind of hanging out on the shuttle because it was free. So, you know, that is one. It will decrease wait times and sort of manage the ridership a little more cleanly if there is a fare.
Yeah, and like I said, maybe it's a $3 one-way or a $5 all-day pass or something, and you can hop on, hop off, or something. I don't know. I would just encourage us to look at something like that too. So if you are going to the beach and then say you got to go shopping or then you're going to lunch or not, by the end of the day you could pay, you know, $12 or so just to stop.
Councilmember Weiss?
And I'm okay with having to pay something because even if we made it free, someone's got to pay. So it's either the city or Sandag or has to come up with the difference. My only issue is going to be, I don't want us making a profit on this. So as we move forward, if you're estimating, you know, 3,000 riders a month and you're actually getting 7,000, then I would like something, I mean, not that we need to take a formal action, but at least send something back to the council saying, hey, we've looked at this, the numbers are higher than what we thought, so we're going to adjust the price, whether it's an all-day fare like the Pronto card or something else, but we shouldn't be making, you know, a huge profit on this. So with that, I will move approval of staff recommendation and hopefully see as this progresses that we can make it work.
Thanks, Councilmember Weiss. Yes, Sandag is on board to look at this. They're looking at it as a pilot with their flexible fleets program. So we're going to be watching it closely. What's the demand? How is the cost being offset by revenue? And we can adjust over the next 2 years and dial it in.
Thank you. And I would just say, I know Sandag and NCTD are looking at $3.5 billion for the Sprinter, which carries about 1,600 people a day. So they can give up like maybe $500 million and fund this.
I'll second his motion.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. I want to say that I am on the Sandag Transportation Committee, and everyone was really excited about this. My fellow members from other areas. Having the information that was presented, the success, it is actually showing as the most successful program. This is a pilot project. We did want to, I think, purposely do it free the first year. Looking at a potential second year, we knew that we needed to have some kind of help with this. So I want to thank Visit Oceanside for coming forward and saying $100,000 each year, and then Sandag getting so excited about this. I mean, they're picking, 3 or 4 programs, and that is it, and they picked us. So I'm very excited about this. I think part of it was 40%, up to 40% were residents. What was it that were,
over 60. Yeah.
60% were residents, and that was it. Yeah, so they were really excited about that residents were using it, not just visitors and tourists to get around. So I will say that it is coming first to the Transportation Committee, but then to the Executive Board, and I'm very, very excited about it. So yes, I agree that there shouldn't be a profit, that whatever the costs are, see how it goes in terms of use and how much money is generated, and then we can adjust that as time goes on. And there's a motion and second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. There is, we have 2 public hearing items for under 6 o'clock. We have first, item number 23, That is confirmation of issuance of a Class 32 infill development projects categorical exemption per the California Environmental Quality Act, and adoption of a resolution approving a tentative parcel map, development plan, and density bonus request to allow the construction of a mixed-use development project comprised of 64 residential units, including 7 deed-restricted low-income units and approximately 2,500 square feet of commercial space located at 901 Pierview Way. I'd like to go ahead and open this public hearing, request disclosures from fellow commissioners regarding constituent contacts and correspondence.
Staff only.
Staff.
Staff.
Thank you. Mr. Navarro, our secretary, could you, are there any correspondence and or petitions for you to present?
We have not received any correspondence or petition on this item.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go ahead and begin testimony with Shannon Vitale, Senior Planner for the City of Oceanside.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I'm Shannon Vitale, Senior Planner in the Development Services Department. I'm here this evening to discuss agenda item number 23, a 64-unit mixed-use density bonus project located at 901 Pierview Way. Staff is recommending the Community Development Commission confirm issuance of a Class 32 exemption for infill development and adopt a resolution approving a tentative parcel map, development plan, and density bonus request. The approximately 13,000 square foot project site, which is outlined in red on this slide, is located on the southeast corner of Pierview Way and North Clementine Street. The site has a general plan land use designation of downtown, a zoning designation of downtown District 2, and is within the town site neighborhood planning area. The project site is a half a mile from the Oceanside Transit Center and is within the Oceanside Transit Overlay District. The site is currently developed with 2 single-family homes and surface parking. Surrounding land uses include a mix of civic facilities, offices, retail, and commercial uses. The project consists of 3 components: a tentative parcel map to separate ownership of the residential and commercial components, a development plan for the construction of a 65,000 square foot, 7-story mixed-use building, which would be comprised of 2,500 square feet of commercial space and 64 apartments. There is also a density bonus application resulting in 10% of the total apartment count, which is 7 units, that would be set aside for low-income households. The applicant also submitted a SB 330 application in April of last year that locks in the development standards and impact fees that were in place at the time of the application. The proposed project's ground floor commercial space fronts Clementine Street and the northwest portion of Pierview Way. There are pedestrian entrances on both Pierview Way and Clementine Street, and the area has been flexibly designed to accommodate a variety of commercial uses. The commercial space utilizes high ceiling plates and glass storefronts, and there's a pedestrian plaza oriented along Pierview Way. The main pedestrian entry is located off of Pierview Way. The second floor of the building includes 9 apartments and amenity areas for residents, which include an outdoor terrace and view deck. Floors 3 through 7 have identical floor layouts, and each would include 11 units, with floor plans ranging in square footage from 440 square feet studio units to 1,175 square foot 2-bedroom units. The 7 low-income units would be proportional to the market rate units and would be dispersed throughout the project. Parking for the project is provided by 2 levels of subterranean parking and 1 level at grade, providing a total of 64 parking spaces within the structure. The table on this slide provides a summary of the floor plans within the project. The affordable units include 1 studio, 4 1-bedroom units, and 2 2-bedrooms. As previously mentioned, there are 64 parking spaces provided in the garage. Additional parking would be provided along Pierview Way and Clementine Street. The project proposes to close the curb cut on Pierview Way to create 4 new angled parking stalls for a total of 7 spaces on Pierview Way. Additionally, there would be 3 parking spaces available on North Clementine Street. This brings the total parking to 74 spaces. Access to the parking garage is provided via the existing alley located off Clementine Street. Enhanced landscaping, including new trees, bicycle racks, would be provided in the public right-of-way along Pierview and Clementine. Since the project is reserving 10% of the units for low-income households, pursuant to state law, the project is entitled to one incentive or concession. As its concession, the applicant has requested to waive the requirement to underground the utilities. The applicant submitted a cost analysis that indicates the cost associated with undergrounding would be $336,000. The cost analysis was included as attachment 5 to the staff report provided to you. The city does not currently have a maximum density established for the subject property, so the proposed density of 210 dwelling units per acre is allowed under current zoning, and the applicant does not need to request additional density as part of the application. Since the applicant submitted a SB 330 application, the project is subject to the development regulations in place at the time of the SB 330 application. Therefore, the project is not subject to a density cap, should the City Council decide to implement a maximum in the future. In addition to granting concessions or incentives, state law also allows an unlimited number of waivers. As described in the staff report and the applicant's description and justification, in order to accommodate the proposed density and provide the low-income units, the project cannot physically comply with all applicable development standards, and the applicant has requested waivers from the development standards that are listed on this table. The project proposes reduced setbacks and an increase in height to be able to accommodate the additional units. Additionally, reductions in site landscaping, open space, garage drive aisle, and parking dimensions have been requested. As outlined on this slide, there are 3 reasons a local government can deny an incentive, concession, and/or waiver. The first reason is if the project would have a specific adverse impact. A specific adverse impact is defined as a significant, quantifiable, direct, and unavoidable impact based on objective, identified, written public health or safety standards. Staff has reviewed the requested concession and waivers and did not determine that there would be a specific adverse impact by granting the request. Additionally, the project would not result in an adverse impact to historical resources and would not be contrary to state or federal law. As described in the staff report, the project has been reviewed for compliance with the city's general plan, the subdivision ordinance, zoning ordinance, and CEQA. The project is consistent with the general plan goals and policies as they relate to land use, housing, and architecture. Although the project is subject to the subdivision ordinance for undergrounding of utilities, the applicant has requested concession pursuant to state density bonus provisions. The project complies with the provisions of the zoning ordinance, except where the applicant is seeking waivers that are consistent with state density bonus law. As previously mentioned, there's not currently a cap on the maximum density for the site. However, staff is looking into reinstating a density cap for the downtown district and anticipates bringing this forward to council this summer. Since the site is located in an already urbanized area, it would not result in any significant environmental impacts. On February 15th, staff brought the project to the Downtown Advisory Committee. The committee voted 6-0 to recommend approval of the project with a revision to the motion to deny the concession and require the undergrounding of utilities. However, pursuant to state law, the project is entitled to one concession, and state law prohibits the city from denying any requested concession unless there are findings made that the concession would lead to a specific adverse impact to granting such concession. And as I previously stated, staff did evaluate the requested concession and determined that a specific adverse impact would not occur. The project complied with the city's enhanced notification program by posting a notice of application sign on the property, and there was a mailed notice to all property owners within 1,500 feet of the site and all occupants and tenants within 100 feet. There was a community outreach meeting that was held on November 9th of last year. There were no attendees other than city staff and the project team. And to date, staff has received no public correspondence. Staff is recommending that the Community Development Commission confirm issuance of a Class 32 categorical exemption and adopt a resolution approving tentative parcel map RP 22-1, development plan RD 22-2, and density bonus request DB 22-7. That concludes my presentation. Both myself and the applicant team are here should you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is a public hearing. This is a time for the public to make comments on this specific project. Do we have any written requests to speak?
I believe applicant.
Applicant?
Yeah.
Oh, the applicant, sorry, my apologies. That's right. You have up to 20, the applicant, this is the time for the applicant to do a presentation. Is the applicant here? Would you like to do a presentation? You have up to 20 minutes to. Okay, well, if there are any comments, you will have the rest of the 20 minutes to do any kind of comments afterwards. That's reserving time for rebuttal. Okay? Thank you very much. Now, it's as if I knew that he was going to say that, right? No, not really. So any requests to speak from the public on this item?
We have not had any written requests from the public
Okay.
on this item.
If you wish to speak on this item, please rise, state your name, and you have up to 3 minutes to speak. You did not have to submit a slip beforehand or sign up at the machine beforehand. Okay, we've got Mr. Jimmy Knott as the first speaker.
Mayor, council members, Jimmy Knott, 127 Sherry Lane. I have a question because the state is going to a goal of all cars being electrified within a few years here. And we're having undergrounding park.
Could you hold on just for a second, Jimmy? My apologies. You do not have to sign up if you want to speak on this. Sorry, my apologies. Okay. I hope I didn't mess up your train of thought.
No.
Okay, good.
And that we're having underground parking. And I do not see an allocation for solar charging systems for those underground parking cars or even for the street cars. And for any other community uses within the facility, which is another area the state is urging for any type of housing to be developing. This is of concern, number one. Number two, when you're talking about 64 units, residential units, you're talking about the need for some of these people to be encouraged to take public transportation. There's no binding recommendations within maybe the agreements for a certain percentage people to be taking public transportation. And also the question of off-site parking, let's say by community standards, let's say participation in a community parking facility, or even some sort of a community charging availability. And as earlier with like the example with the pool, the public pool up there, we could have had some idea with that using solar taking and warming of the water that was not considered. With any public amenity that could take and be using passive systems like that. This is something that needs to be looked at very seriously because the state is mandating it, and we as a city should be also enforcing this because we're going to take and have a need, and from now on, all development needs to be seriously looking at it, and also we need to look at to reinforce on existing development. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Renee Tarver?
Oh, yeah, how'd you know? Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Renee Tarver. I am a resident of Oceanside for the last 30 years. And the question that just came up to me is, there was a public event that nobody showed up to. How do we advertise these public events? And where do we advertise? Because one of the things I do in the community is know what's going on. And so how do we do that?
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, Bill Batchelor, 1916 Moreno Street. The only thing I noticed when I'm looking at this that I'd like to take into consideration is when the setback has been reduced to 1 foot. If you look at that picture, you can see the size of the sidewalks. I'm a huge advocate of a walkable city. I've done a lot of studying, reading on what makes something a pleasant and good walk. I'm never a fan of giving up green space, but from the looks of that, 2 people or a woman with a stroller could not pass each other due to these setbacks. So I know the setbacks might be part of conditions from these nutty laws that have been passed. The only thing I'd recommend is that we maybe try to make some provisions in which the sidewalks, even if we have to give up some green space, are at least 6 feet wide. Once we give that up, we can't get it back. And it'll just make the neighborhood feel more walkable. The articulation of the building is good. Glass on the bottom is good. All of that fit within the model of a pleasant environment, but I am concerned about the width of the sidewalks, so I thought I would point that out. Thanks.
Thank you.
Max Disposti, Oceanside resident. I have a couple of questions on the project. The first one in regards to affordability in the way of the treasure of the 10% was met, and I know that's the minimum requirement, but I wonder if there were never conversation with the city and the developer to increase that at least to 15%. I know that North County Transit Services, the new project, it's discussed right now, raised to 15%. So I would like to know if there was ever conversation. And we got to start a little bit thinking about the fact that we keep building, which I'm not against development, but also we need to take care of our people because we know that the price tag on these apartments is not going to be cheap. So if we had the opportunity to increase a pushback on the affordability in terms maybe from 10 to 15%, that would be great. The second question, if there were ever conversation about the utilization of space, again, the mixed use provides great opportunity for mixed space and interactions and work and living. The reality is a lot of these stores are highly costly for people in Oceanside and mom and pop businesses. Our nonprofits have been pushed out because these are very expensive space. They will cost $10,000, $15,000 or least per month. So I wonder if there was ever a conversation from the city staff to the developer to even look into the opportunity. This space can actually also benefit the local community as, for instance, providing space for service providers and so on. So 2 questions, I'm sorry for that. Affordability and increase the treasure of the 15% affordability, and the other one about the use of space for the mixed use. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this item, please rise, approach the podium, state your name, and you have up to 3 minutes to speak. I see no one else rising. Going to close that part of the public hearing and go to the applicant who has some time left over for rebuttal. And this is I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Hi, Will Winkenhofer. Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
Good evening, City Council. Yeah, thank you for your comments. I think they're, hopefully I've written them down correctly in order, but I'll try to address them one by one. With respect to electric charging, we do have charging stations contemplated within the garage. It's part of the new state building code, and we'll be building to that code. I'd also say that we're doing solar panels on the roof to the extent that we offset 50% of our building's energy, which is another, relatively new code, but we'll be one of the first buildings that actually, enacts that code. So I think that's pretty exciting. With respect to notifications, the city has a notification process. We did a mailer to a certain radius. I can't remember what the radius is, but if you're in that radius, you should have received certified mail. We did that through an authorized contractor that does that type of work in the, and we were in the some common space here. It's on site. It was, I believe, a Wednesday night at 5 to 7. And I don't know if folks were busy or just weren't interested, but we were alone that night. With respect to the sidewalk, I think maybe the building illustrative doesn't represent the sidewalk width maybe as well as it should, just because it is, a sizable building, but the sidewalks are actually as wide as they are today, and in fact, they'll be a bit wider. And according to the engineering standards, we certainly didn't try to skinny them up for any reason. So, but that's a good comment. As far as affordable goes, it's a balancing act between economics of the project and providing affordable units. We elected to do, there's a few different, there's some math that you can follow as far as whether you do affordable at a certain depth of affordability, whether that's very low or low. We decided to do 10% at the low income, which is I think 80% of our median county income. That's your, that's your service workers. That's your nurses. That's your, new police officers. That's your firemen. And so we think that's a good place to be. And as far as the common space goes, we don't know exactly what we're going to put in there. We're trying to make it flexible enough so that a number of different tenants can activate the space. We do think it's a creative opportunity, and to the extent we can use it for multiple uses, co-events, community events, yeah, we like that idea, and we'll certainly take that under consideration. I think that was all the questions.
Thank you, and this is rental, so you're holding on to this, right?
Is a rental property, yes.
Yes.
Yes, these aren't, no, they're not.
So you're not leaving
not
town?
to be sold.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Were there any other questions that were posed? So I understand it was, we're not giving up any sidewalk space and might actually be a bit wider. And was this a 1,000-foot radius? Was that the notice?
Mayor Sanchez, council members, it was a 1,500-foot radius for any owners and then a 100-foot radius for any occupants or tenants.
I believe, though, most of the folks there probably rent. So
that's pursuant to the city policy for enhanced notification. So it was consistent with our city policy, Mayor.
right, maybe we should have gone beyond that, knowing that there were renters. Okay, and that's it. So let's go to the council then. Councilmember Joyce?
Could I ask, does the applicant have to provide a reason for requesting the waiver to the grounding of the utilities?
Mayor and council members, so the undergrounding of utilities is actually considered a concession pursuant to density bonus law, so they just need to demonstrate that there would be a cost savings associated with that. And the applicant did provide a cost analysis to do the undergrounding, which was included in the materials provided to you. But that's all that is required per state density bonus law.
So how much did they come up with?
336,000.
Mayor Sanchez and council members, pursuant to the analysis provided, it was $336,000.
Okay. So, thank you. There are a lot of things a lot of questions that this project brings up again, that we've kind of touched on in other conversations we've had. I am really worried about continuing down the road of approving projects when we still haven't figured out our density, our heights, and our inclusionary housing that we want. I know that some of those are still in flux. Do we have any way to stop approving things until we have a meeting about that?
Maybe I'll take a shot at that. Everyone's rushing to the microphone. We implement statutes that have been adopted by the council. So when we talk about inclusionary housing, there may be a desire to raise the number from, say, 10 to 15% by a member or two. We don't have policy direction to amend that inclusionary housing ordinance at this time. And, certainly the council, if you wanted to pursue that, could agendize it and give us that direction, and we could draft that, bring it forward for consideration. But we implement what has been adopted, and the council took action last year to comprehensively update the inclusionary housing ordinance, and that direction wasn't provided. So
That was right before a couple of us were sitting
right.
there.
So certainly we could, and I know there are discussions underway about reimposing a density cap downtown, not necessarily because of this project, but because of a prior project that raised some concerns. We didn't anticipate, I think, when we removed the cap, that density bonus law would be amended to then allow an unlimited number of waivers. So that, I know our planning staff is working on that, and in conjunction with that, we've had discussions about how to raise the affordability requirement. It's, we have to comply with density bonus law, but if the goal of the council were to increase an affordability on-site requirement, the way to do that would be through raising the inclusionary housing requirement, if that's what's interested. So the answer to your question is not with respect to this project.
No, but we could move policy forward as soon as next meeting.
If you placed an item on the agenda to do so, there are other ways actually to accomplish that through the reimposition of the cap, but again, that would require some policy level discussions.
Could I just get clarification?
Thank you. I'm sorry?
Just get clarification on that question from the city attorney.
Okay, we do have Councilmember Robinson who was
One
raised his hand.
question.
but go
So
ahead.
if we did have that policy in place and we had 20, let's say 15 or 20%, would that make any difference on this density bonus project?
We'd have 14 units
Deputy-
versus 7.
No. I mean, could they just do 10 based on state density bonus law anyways, 10%? That's what I'm saying. No matter what our policy is, the state density bonus law overrides that.
Well, I think we're
talking about
conflating two
units.
different things, though. So
Yeah.
density bonus gives you more units than you're otherwise allowed to build. So
Right.
more market rate units.
Right.
So there'd be a higher reservation requirement potentially on site, unless you allowed a fee to be paid. But so density bonus gives you more units than the law otherwise provides. Inclusionary gives you how many affordable have to be built on site. So we couldn't override state density bonus law in terms of how big of a bonus you get, Councilmember Kime, or Deputy Mayor Kime. That's the question. We can't say, well, state law gives you a 20% bonus for putting 10% on site. We couldn't invalidate that.
I guess that was my question. If we can't, so state density bonus law, the point of it from the states, the spirit of that law was to make it more incentives for developers to build affordable housing. So that's why that 10%, we can't impose upon developers a higher percentage of affordable units is my question.
Well, you could, but not in terms of eliminating the bonus.
Right. Okay, Councilmember Robinson?
Thank you. And I'm happy to have discussions about changing things, but I think when developers, in good faith, enter the process and go into it, I think we need to. Somebody should tell me that stuff.
Oh, I hear you now.
I thought I was loud enough without it. Excuse me for that. All I was saying was I'm happy to have those discussions, but I think when developers enter the process in good faith and with our policies in place, to try to slow a project down isn't fair to that system. The question I had, though, and was about the undergrounding, and this is one of those questions I probably should have thought to ask staff ahead of time. When you talk about specific adverse impact, Mr. Mullen, maybe you can educate me. What would that actually mean? Do we have to?
A violation of a written public health and safety standard.
Okay.
So I would, if I were to come up with one, it would be maybe a height limit in proximity to the airport approach zone. You're not going to waive a height limit because of a public safety standard.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just concerned about undergrounding our utilities and things. I think that is a good direction to go, but I get it in this case.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Kime, it's your time now.
I apologize for stepping in. I just wanted
That's
to
all right.
I wanted to go off the same vein as Councilmember Joyce's question. My understanding has always been, and I'm happy, especially with density bonus projects, for a lot of reasons. I think we give up way more than we get with affordable housing units available, whether it's waivers, with parking and setbacks. I mean, this thing is, I believe, underparked. But as well, I have several other concerns, but it was my understanding, based on density bonus law from the state, that that was what was determined at 10%. And anything that we did to make that project less, not pencil as much, we couldn't take. So we can do a 15 or 20% inclusionary, but as soon as a density bonus law is requested, then that goes to the 10% as density bonus. And
No.
Again, that's, not the state of the law in front of us, and I'm happy to have that policy discussion with you. I think there could be a potential, Deputy Mayor Keim, that if we had that requirement, then someone may seek a incentive or concession or a waiver of that requirement, and then we'd have to go through those findings.
Right. Councilmember,
But
are you
just
done?
finish. I mean, my point, I'm more than happy, especially on density bonus projects, is to go to 15 or 20% with everything we give up. But that was always one of the hesitations, was it's not going to apply on the projects that it's most critical for, like these. Like, I mean, something that we wanted 20%. If a developer can push back and say, no, we're only required 10%, and that's it. So.
One way you might want to consider getting there is you're allowed to give a bigger bonus. You're allowed to have a bigger bonus at the local level than the state provides. So, for example, you could say that you get a 30% bonus, but you have to do 15% on site, or something more than what the state otherwise provides. And that may be an incentive that you could offer when we go to reimpose a density cap that would get you maybe where you want to be.
Councilmember Joyce.
Just also to pick up on one thing that came out in that discussion, which I was not aware of, that renters are not notified when a project is coming in near them. That's our policy? Is that correct?
It's a 100-foot
100
notice.
foot versus 1,500 feet, right?
Mayor and council members, pursuant to city policy, that is the current mailing radius, 1,500 feet for project owners and 100 feet for tenants.
That seems really
something to look
really
at.
Strange. Yeah, I would definitely encourage my council members to take that up in our
Especially in the downtown area where there are a lot of renters.
Yeah, people who rent also want to know what's going on. In this environment, buying a home is kind of impossible for a lot of people. So renter might be a lifestyle that they live for a very long time, myself included. So I would love to know if there's a 7-story building getting put in beside me so I could attend and maybe learn some more about it.
And then, if I may, council member, there was also a yellow notice line posted on the property. So people that are walking by, it had my contact information as well as the applicant. So that was also a notification that applied to anyone in the area.
I appreciate that. And I'm not just for the record, I'm not criticizing you. I'm criticizing, the seats that we sit in. So we need to do better than that.
Thank you. Well, I do lament that the new park fee schedule hasn't come to the council for approval quite yet. So I would have loved for that. And in fact, would that come into play if the permits, if the permit's not pulled immediately?
So Mayor Sanchez, council members, again, this project submitted an SB 330 application. So any impact fees that were in place in, I think it was April of last year, that's what this project is subject to.
Okay. Well, I do really look forward to that coming to the council. And also that staff is still working on reversing the direction that was given to eliminate the density cap. So I'm really would like to see that come back to the council quickly. I know you have a lot of things that you're working on. Also, we have discussed here on the dais, but not as an item, that staff is looking into increasing affordable units to that 20% for whenever there is a density bonus allowance that is being requested. So I would like to see that. So I guess a couple of us will be putting that on the agenda for discussion. The cost of underground utilities, $336,000, that was one of the waivers. I would really, is staff taking into account and maybe listing all the costs of everything that is being waived so that we can send the bill to the state or something, we really need to start pushing back for, these are things that are being requested by the state, really, not by us. So we ought to be pushing back and saying, okay, we want the state to reimburse us for all these, because they have to happen anyway. Do we have a running total? Yes?
Honorable Mayor, council members, Darlene Nicondro, Director of Development Services. Due to the feedback we've been receiving about concerns for the downtown, we have started developing a database that lists not only the concessions or incentives that are requested in the cost value, but all the waivers that are requested at the time, which may be hard to define in terms of numbers, but at least they're being collected and for future use.
Okay, thank you. I did also notice that one of the waivers, one of the several waivers, was also the notion. Well, not. I guess it was waiver. The smaller parking spaces. I think the city manager knows what I'm talking about here, because I've actually tried to park in the past. I didn't have any alcohol. Okay, try to park in a smaller space where there's a column, right? That was the only one parking space that was vacant. And I scraped the heck out of the car, you know? It happens. Is it safe to do that, to waive the requirements that we have? I'm assuming that the basis for our requirements for parking spaces is based on health and safety considerations. But is it safe to make them so small?
So Mayor Sanchez, council members.
It wasn't safe for me, okay? I'll just say that, okay, right out loud.
So the parking spaces, so they're asking a waiver from the number of standard-sized parking stalls. So they're asking for, rather than having 64 standard-sized stalls, there would be 45 standard-sized and 19 compact. So they still, even the smaller spaces would still comply with guidance for the minimum dimension of a parking space. It would just be a compact car space.
Right next to the column. I want to ask people in general, who parks next to a column when the spaces are so small? Who's really good at parking there? Okay, one person out of, okay, two out of, I don't know how many. What was that? Well, that would be scary, right, going fast. All right. Yeah, these are the concerns I'd really like to see us address as many of the things that we can address on these state bonus law projects, so that we are maintaining some level of standards for our community. So yes, I understand we have to approve this project unless we find some significant public health and safety issues. I really would like to see us move forward on the diversity caps, and also the lifting it up to 20% in things that you suggested, Ms. Vitale and Mr. Borrego and Mr. Mullins. So thank you very much. Councilmember Joyce.
Sorry to circle back one more time. The affordable housing, has the city ever, I guess ever is a long time, but is it a practice for the city to subsidize affordable units within development that's being taken? So let's say they have 10% right now. Could the city say, hey, give us a number. How much do you need to make another 2-bedroom an affordable unit for another 55 years? How much do you need for another single-bedroom unit to be affordable for another 55 years? Is that, do we know if that's a practice that is done, or, because I hear the reasoning for not doing it is because it doesn't make enough money. And so if it's a money thing, there should be a number associated with that. So I'm just curious if that's something that has been done.
So, Honorable Mayor and council members, I can only speak to the time that I've been here at the city, which is about, well, over 6 years, and I have not seen that done yet. I can't speak to whether that has been practiced in the past. There may be others here in the room that might have knowledge of that. You know, certainly when we do certain affordable deals and there is a direct subsidy that's provided to the city, that's typically for, 100% affordable project, and we have many of those. But to your point, whether we've subsidized individual units on projects that only have partial affordability. I'm not aware of any, but I can't really speak as to whether or not that's always been the case here in Oceanside.
It would be like something like Section 8, right? If your name comes up and then there is a unit, then Section 8 would subsidize that, and you would be required to pay a certain amount. And that would be through the voucher program.
That's more of a back end. I'm talking about deed restricting them up front. And so that they're preserved in that database of affordable units that our city has. So if we're going to have a housing workshop in August, I would really like to know more about a program that would look like. I know the numbers are run. There's no way that the lawyers and bankers don't run the numbers enough on these kinds of projects. So I would love it if we included that as part of our policies that say, hey, what's your number? So that we could actually make the decision about whether or not these units are worth it.
Yeah, and I am aware of other cities that have done that, so certainly there is precedence out there, and we would be happy to include that as a discussion item with our upcoming housing workshop.
Thank you.
Councilmember Robinson?
Thank you. I just want to move approval.
There wasn't a motion? Oh, okay, there's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Item number 24, adoption of a resolution approving a conditional use permit and a waiver of locational requirements to allow tobacco and drug paraphernalia sales within an existing building located at 4170 Oceanside Boulevard, Suite 177C. I'd like to go ahead and open this public hearing and request disclosures from council members regarding constituent contacts and correspondence.
Staff only.
None.
Staff.
None.
Mr. Navarro, do we have any correspondence and or petitions to present?
Our office has not received any correspondence or petition on this item.
Thank you. We're going to begin with city, and that's testimony with Dane Thompson, planner for the city. Mr. Thompson?
Thank you. Honorable Mayor, City Council members, my name is Dane Thompson with the Planning Division. I will be presenting item number 24 tonight, the Oceanside Smoke Shop Conditional Use Permit. Staff and the Planning Commission recommend that the City Council adopt a resolution approving a CUP and waiver of locational requirements to allow tobacco and drug paraphernalia sales at an existing tobacco retail store located at 4170 Oceanside Boulevard. The project is located in the Plaza del Oro Shopping Center, which is north of Oceanside Boulevard and west of College Boulevard. Here is a visual of the site that the owner currently occupies. The site has been used as a smoke shop or tobacco retailer for 19 years, and the current business sells items such as cigarettes, cigars, vaporizers, hookahs, pipes, and water pipes. Pursuant to Article 36 of the zoning ordinance, tobacco and drug paraphernalia establishments are considered regulated uses which require a conditional use permit approved by the City Council to operate. The municipal code defines tobacco and drug paraphernalia establishments as any premises where tobacco and drug paraphernalia is sold in a space greater than 16 cubic. The site was originally given a business license to sell tobacco products, which does not require a conditional use permit. Through the years and a few changes of ownership, they began to sell a greater amount of paraphernalia. Thank you. Code enforcement first realized that the business was operating as a tobacco and drug paraphernalia establishment without a CUP during their annual tobacco retail license inspection. As defined by the code, paraphernalia is described as any device intended or designed primarily for the smoking or ingestion of tobacco, notwithstanding that the device may also be used for the smoking or ingestion of marijuana or any other controlled substance, as that term is defined in the Health and Safety Code. This CUP is required if the applicant wants to continue their existing sales of paraphernalia. Should the CUP be denied, the applicant would need to reduce the amount of paraphernalia displayed to 16 cubic feet or less. The project has been reviewed and found to be in conformance with all relevant city codes and policies, including the general plan, as the business is compatible with existing land uses. The project is consistent with the Rancho del Oro Master Development Plan, as that document allows tobacco and drug paraphernalia establishments with this CUP. And the project is consistent with the municipal code, with code enforcement and business license conducting regular inspections. Staff believes that the CUP findings can be made and the project would not be detrimental to public health or safety. All regulated uses are prescribed certain separations from sensitive uses like schools, churches, parks, playgrounds, residential districts, and other regulated uses. This project does not meet all locational requirements, so they are requesting a waiver. The City Council may grant that waiver if the listed findings can be made, including not being contrary to the public interest, not impairing nearby property, and not encouraging the development of an adult entertainment area or otherwise promoting community blight. This table breaks down each of the locational requirements that are not being met by the project. The project site is located within 1,000 feet of a liquor store and a massage establishment that is located in the same structure. Apologize for the typo on the table there. That should be a required separation of 1,000 feet for number 3 of the liquor store. For the massage establishment, staff is not aware of any overlap in customer bases or any incompatibilities arising from the two uses locating near one another. For the liquor store, which was recently approved by council, that site is located across Oceanside Boulevard, which is about 1,300 feet walking distance. Similarly, the nearest residence is located about 1,500 feet by approved sidewalk. For these reasons, staff and the Planning Commission believe that the project meets all the findings shown previously and that a waiver of locational requirements is warranted. The applicant has complied with the city's enhanced notification policy, including holding a community outreach meeting, which was a meet and greet on January 21st, where all the comments collected were in favor of the project. To date, staff has received 3 letters in opposition, all stating concerns with public health. On March 27th, 2023, the Planning Commission conducted a public hearing on the project, during which they expressed concern that the smoke shop may have a negative impact on children visiting the existing karate studio, which is just 2 suites away, as you can see in the picture in the presentation. With their concerns, the Planning Commission voted 5-2 to recommend City Council approval if the following 3 conditions were placed on the project. Staff has written these 3 conditions into the resolution before you. The first condition is to have the business owner follow existing city and state laws regarding tobacco and drug paraphernalia sales, including verifying that all individuals entering the store are of legal age. The second condition is to have the owner reduce the amount of window signage to be in compliance with current code. The third condition is to move most of the paraphernalia out of public view. And the applicant has agreed to all of these conditions, and the results are shown in the following slides. After hearing the Planning Commission's concerns with the window signage, the owner proceeded to bring the signage into compliance, as shown in this before and after sequence. Similarly, the owner moved most of their paraphernalia behind a wall, shown in this picture. This picture is the view as you enter the store. And as you can see, most of the paraphernalia is hidden from sight. With that, staff recommends that the City Council adopt a resolution approving a CUP and waiver of locational requirements to allow tobacco and drug paraphernalia sales at an existing tobacco retail store located at 4170 Oceanside Boulevard. That concludes my presentation. The applicant has a presentation as well, and we will both be available for any questions.
Thank you. So this is the time for the applicant to do his or her presentation. I've got Rafi Sacco is the applicant.
Yes, hello. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mayor Sanchez and council members.
You have up to 20 minutes, and you can reserve some of that time for rebuttal.
My name is Denise Martinez. I'm here on behalf of my client, who is also the owner of the smoke shop. I'll let him introduce himself.
Hello, my name is Rafi Sacco.
Thank you all for allowing us to present in front of you today. As Dane mentioned, we were here back in March, and we spoke with another lovely group of commission members and received some really valuable feedback. And I'd like to start by expressing the same sentiment that we did with the other group, which is my client, Rafi, is an upstanding community member. It has always been his intention to run an equally upstanding business. He became the owner of a smoke shop in 2019, but as you saw in Dane's presentation, the smoke shop itself has been around since 2004. And we have received many positive feedback and comments from the community as we have engaged in this process to apply for the CUP. And as you know, this was in response to feedback that we received, a citation that was received last year, at which time Rafi, the owner, took immediate action to get this corrected, because it is, again, very important for him to make sure that he is in compliance as a business owner. So as you know, the reason for the CUP is so that he can display his what's called drug paraphernalia, which are items in order to consume tobacco. And as part of this application, we held a meet and greet back in January where community members were able to come and express any sentiment that they might have. They were welcome to ask any questions, and we received 100% positive feedback. Here are some example of the comments that we received. These are people who are consumers of tobacco who make that choice and go to a store that is clean, that is organized, that is welcoming to those who do choose to partake in tobacco consumption. We are, again, here because we want to make sure that we are in compliance with the rules set forth by the city. So in the last meeting, we received 3 specific points that we needed to address, and Rafi made sure to take care of them immediately. And I want to briefly go through what those were. The first one was the concern that there were too many things in the window, that it wasn't looking clean, that just didn't look good. And Rafi was 100% in agreement. Sometimes you kind of have to step back and get some feedback from other people and see a different perspective. And he did realize he had too much signage, and it was sort of attractive to see what's in the window, and that's not necessarily his intention. So
right away took down all of the extra unnecessary signage so that we are meeting the rule of having just 20% of the window covered. And then the second one was to make sure that we are carding everyone. And that is an obvious thing. There was one specific council member who was clearly of age to consume tobacco and went in and was not carded. And there's sort of a line that, Rafi has expressed where there have been times when people who are just of more senior age go in and might get upset sometimes to be carded when they're barely over 18. But we understand that, that is something that needs to be done. So just triple checking, confirming that that is being done. And then the last one was, again, with that notion of not having attractive things in the window, he made sure to move the paraphernalia away from the window, especially the one that was closest to the window, to put it in the back. When you do walk by, the window is a bit obscured, so it's hard to see in any way. But now that there's much less signage in the window and the paraphernalia that is in question was moved to the back, we made sure to comply with that specific request from the commission, and we're happy to do so. So that's the information that I wanted to share with you all, and we are more than happy to answer any questions that you might have about this business, the operations, and our application in general. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So we're now at the public comment part of this public hearing. Do we have any advanced requests to speak, or?
Yes, we do. We have 2 advance written requests to speak on this item. Our first speaker is John Byram, to be followed by Erica Leary.
Mayor Sanchez, council members, my name is John Byram, and I'm from North Coastal Prevention Coalition. When I was 13 years old, I entered a drug paraphernalia shop in East San Diego. It changed the way I thought about drugs. And 21 years of addiction later, I finally went to treatment and got clean. I now have 37 years of recovery. But it changed the way I thought. I walked in there and drugs must not be so bad. They have a whole store for them. The applicant might say, only individuals 21 years and older can enter the store. The reality is youth can access these stores. OPD did a decoy operation at Interworld. The youth was able to walk around for 5-10 minutes in the store, was finally, when he went up to buy something, then was turned down. So they are accessing the store. Oceanside Council worked with NCPC back in 2003 to prevent expansion of smoke shops and require a CUP. This ordinance received national awards from Community Anti-Drug Coalitions of America and the National Association of State Alcohol and Drug Directors. This ordinance is smart policy. Now, this location has been violating the ordinance for over a decade. I don't understand why you would reward a business who has violated the ordinance multiple times. If this variance is approved, you are likely to get many more applications, and you will limit your grounds on your ability to deny them. I was just in San Diego, and there's stores on almost every block. This ordinance says 2 by 4 foot shelf space. I was in that store probably about 2 months ago, and a third of his store is drug paraphernalia. So I don't know, the lawyer said that he has complied. I didn't see any compliance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Erica Leary.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Erica Leary. I'm the program manager for the North Coastal Prevention Coalition and a 27-year resident of Oceanside. I've been working for over 25 years to prevent youth substance use, and tobacco use by kids had nearly been eliminated until the invention and promotion of vaping. And now we hear from school personnel and students we work with that vaping, both nicotine products and THC, is a weekly occurrence on middle school campuses and a daily occurrence on high school campuses. These products are extremely potent and make teens dependent very quickly. We also know that 90% of adult smokers started smoking before the age of 18, and that 90% of adults with a substance use disorder started using substances before age 18. Youth substance use is interrelated. Teens who use one substance are significantly more likely to use another. Oceanside High School had a very impactful forum last night addressing the fentanyl crisis, and I was disappointed that I didn't see any of you there. The fentanyl crisis definitely poses an immediate danger and has made experimenting with substance use a potentially lethal choice for young people. Brave and heroic parents who've suffered unimaginable losses shared their stories last night. And yes, I know this store is not going to sell fentanyl, but they are selling products that are currently against state law. I went in there this afternoon, and the owner claimed that he didn't know it was against state law, that he's just selling off his flavored nicotine products until he runs out. But yet they were being restocked on the shelves. This law took effect in December of 2022, and the state did not allow any time extension to sell off products. I honestly think this application before you is a failure of city processes. Like John said, this ordinance has been in place for over a decade, and this location has been in violation for that time period. I encourage you and urge you to have city staff conduct a public health analysis whenever alcohol, tobacco, cannabis, or other drug applications come before you. We'd be more than happy to direct you to county, state, and national experts that know the public health implications of businesses like this. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. If you wish to speak on this item, please approach the podium, state your name, and you have up to 3 minutes to speak. I see no one rising. I'm going to go ahead and close this portion of the public hearing. Ask the applicant if they wanted to speak at all on the rebuttal.
So I don't have much to add, but we are following the city rules and complying with what we were asked to do. So as far as the nicotine being addictive and all that, that's not something that's part of this application, as far as what I'm understanding.
Thank you very much. Did you want to say something else?
Yes, I just wanted to thank the two people who brought up those points. I'm a very empathetic person. I definitely empathize with, your circumstances and the addiction and what you're doing with the community, because that's very respectable. And just want to reiterate my client who is here because he received specific feedback from the city of Oceanside, and we're taking the steps to make sure that we're in compliance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any comments from staff before we go to the council? No, okay. To the council, Councilmember Robinson.
Remember the mic this time.
Were you the council member that went into the shop? No. Oh, okay.
I gave up smoking.
Just wondering who it was.
I quit smoking
Peter?
a long time ago.
Oh. No?
Although I might take it up after this, I don't know.
1, 2, and 3.
I heard it said that he's had multiple violations. I'm just curious from staff. Obviously, code enforcement was involved in somewhere in this, but is there a record of violations of this establishment?
Councilmember Robinson, this was the first code enforcement violation that I'm aware of. Typically, when businesses are cited and not in compliance with a code, they're cited to become compliant with that code, which would have required them to get this CUP at that time instead of now.
Okay, and then the other question is, if this doesn't get approved, what the business stays in business, right? This isn't what takes place if it doesn't get approved.
Yes, council member. So they are a legally established tobacco retailer. So that will not change depending on this, the action tonight. Tonight, this conditional use permit is allowing tobacco and drug paraphernalia sales. If denied, they are allowed a shelf space that is 2 by 4 by 2 to display drug paraphernalia. Otherwise, they would just be a tobacco retailer.
Deputy Mayor Kime?
Yes.
Just a couple quick questions for the applicant, please. Is this your only tobacco store or store that sells tobacco and tobacco-related products and drug paraphernalia?
Is this my only?
Yes.
This is my second.
Your second. When did you have your first one? Or explain that, when you got each store and how long you've had them for.
I've been in the business for about 20 years now. Okay. Altogether. Yes.
Okay, so did you know before code enforcement came in that you needed a CUP and you?
In Oceanside, I did not know. When I bought the store in 2019, the previous owner did not mention anything. And when I applied, with the city of Oceanside, they did not mention anything about the CUP.
Okay, where's your other store located at?
Well, I've had an El Cajon, and I had a store in Mission Beach as well.
Okay, so did those cities require conditional use permits to sell that?
No.
They did not?
They did not.
Okay. Do you know, and actually a question for staff, are we unique in the fact that we require a CUP? And the reason I'm going down this line of questioning is if that you had reason to believe that you needed a CUP and you continued to operate anyways, that's a concern of mine. I understand you might, do you know generally in the county, is that normal for cities to have a CUP for these products?
Councilmember Kime, I am not very knowledgeable about other cities' codes and requirements.
I'm sorry, it's an off-the-cuff question. I wasn't prepared to ask it, but.
If I may, Honorable Mayor, council members, what we understand is that this was found during an annual retail license check. The business has been around since 2004, and the owner only bought it, I think, in 2019. And it was only through this annual inspection that the owner found out. That's my understanding.
Okay. Yeah, I understand all that. Mine is more for the owner. If he had reason to believe that he needed a CUP and he didn't ask for one, he continued to sell it. That is a concern going forward to grant a CUP.
Typically, a CUP would run with the land. So if a CUP were granted and a business sold, then it would automatically run with the land without a subsequent CUP application. So not defending this gentleman, but that's typical. I don't know if cities generally require CUPs for these types of establishments, but normally a CUP, if a business were operating in that fashion, it would transfer with the business.
Okay. Just one more question for the applicant. Yes. Have you had any violations in the other cities or any issues with those municipalities?
We haven't had any violations or tickets or anything in the past for like selling to minors or anything like that.
Okay.
My record is clean, so is my employees.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Weiss?
I have a question for the applicant as well.
Yes.
What is it that you are looking to sell specifically?
Pipes, glass pipes.
That's it?
Hookahs, like the Middle Eastern pipe. I mean, most of the stuff we sell is, for tobacco use only.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Joyce?
Process-wise, if a violation were to come up again, will we go through the same exact process, or is it different with the second violation?
Well, so I think we need to clarify what the violation is. Not having a CUP, just to be clear. So,
operating
he's
outside.
filing an application to attempt to cure that violation.
Got
so
it.
if the CUP were to be granted, if there was a condition of approval that was violated, then that could subject him to revocation of the CUP. But that would be different than this process.
Is there a maximum amount of drug paraphernalia that he can sell under the CUP?
No, I think the statute our city code just requires if you're more than 2 by 4 by 2, then you have to get a conditional use permit.
So it could be 70%.
I'm not aware of a numerical limit in our city code.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Can I add one more thing?
No?
Okay.
Somebody can ask you a question.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'll take a stab at this. I actually, I understand that this is a tobacco store, and that under our current law, he is, the owner is able to have some shelf space of paraphernalia that can be used for other items, not just tobacco. And that's why it's called drug paraphernalia. I mean, I guess 20 years with the Deputy Public Defender's Office, drug paraphernalia has a certain definition. I would deny the conditional use permit. He would still be able to carry on with his business, and he would also have the ability to have his shelf space for the amount that is allowed under the without the CUP. So my motion would be to deny the CUP. Councilmember Weiss?
The reason I asked what he specifically wanted to sell, and I had looked up the definition of drug paraphernalia. It's basically defined as any type of equipment or material that is modified to make, use, or hide illegal controlled substances. This would include heroin, cocaine, crack cocaine, methamphetamine, marijuana, or any other type of illegal drugs. I don't know why we call it drug paraphernalia, since that's the definition in the California Health and Safety Code, which is why I ask what he's actually doing. But given that he could still provide some shelf space for pipes and hookahs, I'll be supportive of the motion.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. No lights, please vote. The motion to deny would require a yes vote to win.
Motion approved, 4-1. Joyce, no.
Thank you. Go to item number 22, which is our second general item for the evening. That's approval of Amendment 3 to the Professional Services Agreement with Doken Engineering in the amount of $933,985 for a revised contract amount not to exceed $1.4 million for the preparation of final design documents for the Coastal Rail Trail from Oceanside Boulevard to Morse Street, and authorization for the city manager to execute the amendment. And we have a report by Kimberly Corbin, our associate engineer. Ms. Corbin?
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. My name is Kimberly Corbin, associate engineer with the Development Services Department. I promise to keep this one G-rated. I'm here to bring you forward item number 22, the Professional Services Agreement Amendment with Docken for the Coastal Rail Trail from Oceanside Boulevard to Morse Street. Staff recommends that the City Council approve Amendment 3 to the Professional Services Agreement with Docken Engineering in the amount of $933,985 for a revised contract amount not to exceed $1,454,169 for the preparation of final design documents for the Coastal Rail Trail from Oceanside Boulevard to Morse Street, and authorize the city manager to execute the amendment. So a little background for you. In April 2017, we initially awarded the PSA to Docken. That was to provide for the project study report and provide conceptual plans. In June 2019, we was awarded and accepted a $400,000 SANDAG grant. So then that moved us in May 2020, Amendment 1 to Docken, which was for them to prepare the environmental documents, the preliminary engineering, and also to provide grant writing services. So in December of 2021, Council approved a resolution that approved the environmental documents, the mitigation monitoring and reporting program, and the Coastal Rail Trail alignment. Then Amendment 2 was granted in April of 2022. Amendment 2 approved for grant writing services. And then in May of 2022, Council approved a resolution for a submittal of an $8.6 million Caltrans grant for final design and construction. The city was unsuccessful at receiving the entire grant fund request, and so therefore staff made the motion to move forward and complete the design so that we become more grant friendly. So Amendment 3's scope of work includes project management and public outreach, final surveying and mapping, environmental permits, final geotechnical investigations, utility coordination, drainage and water quality, final design plan specifications and estimates, and right-of-way coordination. The funding sources include Parks Fee Fund, Transnet, and Sandag Grant. Amendment 3, as mentioned, is $933,985, and it will be funded from those sources. So therefore, sufficient funds are available for Amendment 3 to make this project shovel-ready and more grant-friendly. Again, so in conclusion, staff recommends that the City Council approve Amendment 3 to the PSA with Dock and Engineering in the amount of $934,000 for a revised contract amount not to exceed $1.4 million for the preparation of final design documents for the Coastal Rail Trail from Oceanside Boulevard to Moore Street, and authorize the city manager to execute the amendment. And then I am here to answer any questions as they may arise.
Thank you very much. Are there any requests to speak from the public?
There are no requests to speak.
Okay, to the council. Councilmember Weiss.
Move approval.
There's a motion and a second. Councilmember Joyce.
I'm just really excited about this project. Yeah. Just saying thank you. Like, let's get our whole city more bikeable, walkable. This is one trail. We got lots of trails. The inland trail needs to get done. We need to complete this one all the way up to the other trail too. So thank you. Let's move it forward.
Yeah, I was there at the Transportation Committee meeting where they showed that we had received partial funding. I think the recommendation was for $4 million, and they expected the city to put up the other $5 million. And so the city said, thank you, but no thank you. So I appreciate that you're putting this, the idea of putting in more work into getting it shovel ready, basically, so that we can get those funds the next time around. So I did see other projects in front of us, and I'm thinking, well, ours is better. So thank you very much. Let's vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Item number 25B, Joe Hill, represent Oceanside and voting procedure changes. This is under advance written request to reserve time to speak. Mr. Hill?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Joe Hill, Oceanside resident. I'm here tonight speaking on behalf of Represent Oceanside and Represent San Diego, and show a short video about ranked choice voting. It's a very basic video just to explain and demonstrate how this tool works. Okay.
So what is ranked choice voting? In most parts of the United States, voters select a single candidate for each position on their ballot, and the candidate with the most votes wins. This is known as single-choice winner-take-all, which can sometimes result in the election of a candidate who earned only a small percentage of the vote, even when the majority of voters supported other candidates. But that's not the only way of electing our leaders. Ranked choice voting is another voting method which allows voters to rank their candidates in order of preference. In a ranked choice voting election, a candidate needs to earn more than half of the votes to win. All first choices are counted, and if a candidate has a majority, then they win, just like any other election. If not, the candidate with the fewest votes is eliminated, and voters who picked that candidate as number one will have their votes count for their next choice. This process continues until a candidate earns a majority and is declared the winner. Let's look at an example. Here, you select orange as your first choice candidate, yellow as your second, pink as your third, and green as your final choice. The first choices are counted. Yellow earned 35%, orange 21%, pink earned 28%, and green earned 16% of the vote. Because nobody won more than 50%, the candidate with the fewest votes is eliminated, and voters who picked him as their first choice have their ballots count for their second choice. This continues until a candidate receives more than half of the votes, or 50% plus 1. So what are some of the benefits of ranked choice voting? Ranked choice voting provides more choices, allowing more than 2 candidates to compete without fear of splitting the vote among like-minded individuals. Sometimes voters feel pressured to vote for the lesser of 2 evils. Ranked choice voting allows people to vote for their favorite candidate, not just against the candidates they dislike. With ranked choice voting, we see more positive campaigns and less negative advertising. Candidates are encouraged to reach out to as many voters as possible, including those supporting their opponents. They can build a winning coalition with like-minded candidates to earn voters' second and third choices. It's time to fix our democracy and make our elections work better for everybody. We can do that with ranked choice voting. Visit www.fairvote.org to find out how you can get involved.
Represent Oceanside and Represent San Diego are now working together to bring ranked choice voting to the cities in San Diego County. Ranked choice voting is now used for local elections in more than 60 U.S. cities and in some state primary and congressional elections, and in Alaska and Maine, even for presidential elections. Ranked choice voting eliminates special runoff elections and recounts and levels the playing field for all of the candidates by ensuring the winning candidate gets more than 50% of the vote. Remember, this procedure only affects elections races with more than 2 candidates. If there's only 2, this doesn't apply. As a charter city, our hope is that this council, after approving a review and recommendation by staff, will agendize and vote, put the ranked choice voting measure on the very next voting ballot in the city of Oceanside for the voters to decide yes or no. Just like the charter cities of Redondo Beach, Palm Desert, Ojai, and Southern California have done. Also, the League of Women Voters' official position on electoral systems adopted in 2018 states this: we support electoral systems that promote greater access, transparency, and voter confidence in election outcomes. We support ranked choice voting as a method of voting and counting that provides greater choice, encourages civility, produces a majority winner, eliminates the spoiler effect, reduces the impact of negative campaigning, and promotes a greater diversity and representation. I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Mr. Richard Newton, speaking on council members' oaths of office and responsibilities thereof.
Honorable Mayor Sanchez, members of the council, and the public. Council members Joyce and Robinson took the oath of office last year on December 14th, 2022. That oath read in part, to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. It is available on YouTube for all to see. So I'd like to focus on a statement made by Councilmember Joyce at the last council meeting on May 3rd and address him directly. A member of the public asked if the city had any preparations for the anticipated invasion of our country that would occur after Title 42 expired. At the end of the meeting, you, meaning Councilmember Joyce, stated that, quote, characterizing refugees and migrants as an invasion of our country is a scary way to characterize people who are seeking a better life, end quote. That statement is also available on YouTube near the end of the council meeting. Your comment is disconcerting given that you previously referred to our sovereign border as imaginary. You seem indifferent to the concept of American sovereignty while simultaneously defending those who violate it. It was during a June 14th, 2022 Oceanside School Board meeting that you made this crack about the borders, and this comment can also be seen on YouTube in the school board video from that date at the 20-minute mark. You are a sworn member of our government, and you have an obligation to think beyond your personal feelings and make a rational and proper decision for the well-being of our community in the performance of your duties. To be clear, I am not anti-immigrant. My mother was a first-generation immigrant from El Salvador who came here legally. That side of the family has produced sworn members of the U.S. Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, a police officer, a firefighter, and members of the business, banking, and corporate communities, all which contribute to America. I say this to emphasize that immigration can be good for America when the laws are followed, which shows respect for the host country. Those who violate our borders, despite whatever economic activity they bring, violate our laws. There is always tangible and intangible cost to that. The California Office of Emergency Services spends $500 million on illegal aliens. Intangible damage also occurs when our laws are ignored because rule of law seems to be irrelevant and meaningless. Addressing your disdain for the word invasion, I first note that Webster's New World Dictionary defines invasion as an intrusion or infringement, and the verb invade means to enter forcibly or hostilely. Forcible, hostile intrusion accurately describes what is going on our border. Open borders create an entry point for those with fair intentions or foul. Recent arrests by Customs and Border Patrol show that the latter includes over 90 individuals who are on the terrorist watch list, drug smugglers, criminals, and even cadres of military-age men from our geopolitical enemies. The problems these individuals and groups create exceeds the monetary costs imposed by peaceful illegal aliens who come here to seek only a better life. Article 1, Section 8 of the United States Constitution, that is the Constitution you swore to uphold, Mr. Joyce, gives Congress the authority to regulate immigration. There is room for legitimate debate in Congress about the merits of immigration and the need to increase immigration levels, but it is their decision, not yours. You do not get to turn a blind eye to your sworn obligations. As a student of history, I would define an invasion as an unwanted migration of people forced upon a country subsequent to a catastrophic military defeat that leaves that country unable to defend itself. That is probably similar to what most people think, and you can be forgiving for presumably thinking that a battle and defeat must occur for an unwanted migration to be called an invasion. But this time, our country has been betrayed from within by the Democrat politicians on all levels of government who have aided and abetted this invasion of our country. Democrats have forced the country to metaphorically bend over and grab our ankles, invited illegal aliens to push as hard as they want while forcing citizens to say, "Thank you, sir, may I have another?" It is a tremendous betrayal beyond imagination and historical precedent. Yes, Mr. Joyce, this is an invasion. We simply surrendered without a fight by our leaders. I agree that many who come here simply want a better life, to better their lives and participate in the American dream. But that cannot be the main concern for the government, which must be to preserve American autonomy and independence. America, meaning Congress, decides who and how many to take in, not local politicians and not foreign nationals. As a local leader, you must be ready and willing to protect our community and step up to your duties. While treating people humanely and with compassion is appropriate, that is subordinate to the rule of law and national sovereignty. America is the flower in the bed of weeds that is human history. That is why everybody wants to come here and why it is worth defending. Now, a little bit about what you said. There's a closed caption. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll get to item number 26, communications from the public regarding items not on this agenda. How many requests do we have?
We have
Mayor, if I may.
8.
Oh, yes,
If I
my
may do a
apologies,
brief
Councilmember
response.
Joyce.
I just want to clarify again, I do stand by my statement that characterizing refugees as an invasion is a dangerous way to speak about people. Words have an impact. If a person feels like they are being invaded, people may take the law into their own hands and inspire violence against people who are seeking asylum, and that is not okay. Congress has regulated immigration, and we've all called for reforms. But under the current law, we do have an asylum process that is being seeked out, and we have a responsibility to respond as a government according to our own laws and with humane treatment of all people.
Thank you. So we do have, you said 8. Okay. Is Max here?
Well, Bill Batchelor is our first speaker.
Okay. No, I
be
just
followed
wondered.
by Max.
I think it might be 7. Okay, Mr. Batchelor? Yeah, Max did speak already.
Good evening, council members, deputy mayor, mayor. There's 3 areas in the current TOT process at Oceanside in which you're bleeding money. In the sake of time, I'm going to cover one of them tonight. I'll come back another time to talk about the other two, but the first one is complicated, so please allow me to give some context because it'll make more sense when I get through this. Real estate law, when it comes to rental, the rental environment, whether you're renting a long-term apartment or a short-term apartment, is two broad categories. Short-term rentals, AKA vacation rentals, and long-term rentals. Dividing line on the law is 30 days. 30 days or more, it is a long-term rent. Under 30 days, it is a short-term rent. And there are two areas that are impacted by that dividing line. One of them is the eviction process. If it is a short-term rental, under 30 days, you can easily evict somebody who's not following the rules, is causing problems, et cetera. It's very much like a hotel. You can throw somebody out if they're not a good guest. Over 30 days, you fall into real estate law, in which the eviction process, you must give 30 days notice, or 60 in some cases, and then the eviction process can go on for another 90 days, sometimes longer depending on how they play their hands. That's important to understand that difference. About 7 years ago, a scam came out that got some publicity in Palm Springs newspapers, et cetera, and it was happening around the country. The scam was this. Somebody rents a short-term vacation rental for 45 days, knowing fair well that they're going to fall under real estate law. At the end of 45 days, they refuse to leave. The owners then bring the sheriff to evict them. They show them the lease paperwork, state their rights. Sheriff says, nothing we can do. You have to go through the eviction process. Takes them 4 or 5 months. They have to cancel every reservation that they've got. It's a nightmare. Oh my God, we're down to a minute. So what the local property management companies have done to avoid this is they have unilaterally just decided that 29 days is no longer a short-term vacation rental. They write a series of 29-day leases for the snowbirds that'll last for 4 months, but they show that it's 29 days, and in doing that in 29 days, they avoid this eviction process. But they self-decided that 29 days doesn't need to pay TOT taxes. It is either TOT taxes, short-term rental, or it is a long-term rental. There's no in between. But they made this decision because it was in their best financial interest. So they have been running these 29-day leases. They have spread the word amongst everybody who knows or cares or who is interested, and they are running short-term leases and not paying their TOT taxes. My recommendation is most people, when they're called out, will get in line. So city attorney can check my facts. I'm humble enough to know where I'm wrong. It's happened. But that a letter is sent explaining to all property owners and property management companies.
Wrap it up.
Yes, and all property management companies send a letter that says 29 nights. That's the number they use. 29 nights is a short-term rental lease, and TOT taxes are required. My guess, $60,000 being lost annually. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Roxanne Detheridge. Max already spoke. Is there Roxanne Detheridge? Okay, Jimmy Knott.
Mayor, council members, Jimmy Knott, 127 Cherry Lane. I wanted to remind the public very simply that the San Diego County Water Authority is planning to raise your water rates between 6 and 9%. You have an opportunity to have input and tell them your opinion. If you're like any senior citizen, let's say, and you're receiving minimum Social Security between, I've discovered, $600 now is minimum Social Security, and $1,000, you might be interested in taking and expressing your opinion. So you have a few dates left, May 18th, the 25th, and the 22nd of June to the San Diego County Water Authority. If you do, please do so at the beginning of these meetings, because they do not wait like we do where you hear the staff report, and then you can respond. You have to tell them what you think at the beginning of the meeting. Also, the city itself takes and will help you along. Let's say if you're low income, and you can prove it to the city, with the low-income water-assisted project. But the city does not carry over any type of assistance that you may receive, unlike a majority of the other water districts in the state of California. Also, like the other majority of the water districts in the San Diego County area. And also, it does not apply to your solid waste bill, because waste management was not encouraged by your council to set up a similar program. So you are going to have to pay the full bill, and the waste management was not encouraged to voluntarily set up a program to assist you. So you would now take and have to pay the entire amount, and they, through not the encouragements or grace of their heart, to take and help you. Please tell your council in the future here, coming up with the rates that have been established, and also with the water rates here in the city, to take in your consideration.
Thank you. Fabiola Bellinger. Yes, the tour.
Good evening, Mayor Esther Sanchez and City Council Board in the City of Oceanside. Turn Behavioral Health Family Recovery Center is inviting the entire City of Oceanside to our second annual Tour de Recovery that will raise awareness of substance use disorders and mental health, as they will begin cycling with their bicycles from Fresno on from Fresno on June 4th, and end with an inspirational celebration finish line on June 11th at 1100 Sportfisher Drive in the City of Oceanside. Our mission is to improve lives. Family Recovery Center is a residential drug treatment program for perinatal and parenting women, funded by the County of San Diego Behavioral Health Services. Our second tour of recovery raises money for our Faith Scope Scholarship Fund. With last year's funds, we were able to supply 3 $2,000 scholarships to women. These scholarship goes towards education, housing, and/or a vehicle to get to and from work or school. We are hoping to raise more this year to be able to bless more women with the opportunity for a jump start. You see, my jump started 11 years ago on May 2nd, 2012, when I decided to get clean from drugs and alcohol. FRC saved my life 11 years ago. I too walked up those 18 stairs, just as the beautiful women that we represent today, with absolutely no parenting skills, no career skills, no life skills, absolutely nothing. Just the clothes on my back, the shoes on my feet, and a 9-year-old son that today is in the military as a K-9 officer in the Navy. Through his traumatic experiences, because of my continued use, it was through the FRC and the Dream Keepers making it possible for me to apply for a scholarship to go back to school and get an education that I had always dreamed of. Through the City of Oceanside providing a Section 8 housing voucher to our program, I was granted a Section 8 voucher that provided a safe haven for me and my son. Today, I run that program. I am the program manager of the Family Recovery Center. Woo! Through hard work and determination and dedication and perseverance, I've earned a master's degree at the University of Southern California. I am now an associate social worker with the Board of Behavioral Sciences. And as of yesterday, 5/16, escrow closed, and I am now a homeowner in the City of Oceanside. Woo! Your generosity will impact the lives of many, many women who have the desire and the willingness to make a change in their life. You never know the lives that you will impact. It is with great pleasure to work with the women that walk up those 18 stairs towards their recovery journey. At FRC, we let every woman know that they are worthy, they are strong, they are courageous. We get to witness the healing journey, children reunified, babies being born drug-free. Woo! We reduce recidivism, restorative justice, bringing hope to a new life. Our women learn to believe in themselves, and they learn how to live and strive for success, reaching their goals and their dreams. Please join me on Sunday, June 11 at 10:30 a.m. when the cyclists will arrive at 1100 Sport Fisher Drive. Please text if you would like to donate to TDR, Roman numeral 2, to 71777, or look up somedayproductions.org to get more information. Thank you.
Thank you, Fabiola.
Thank you, Mr. Joyce, for making your
Patty Kay.
Ideas perfectly clear that you prefer not to defend the citizens of Oceanside. And please look up the amnesty laws, because it goes from one country to the next country, not all the way up from China or South America or Africa. So, okay, thank you. But my topic tonight is I did research on the ranked choice voting, and I wanted to present a different opinion. Proponents give misleading or false statements, and so please consider this when you're considering what was presented on the possibility of a new voting. They call it fair, but there is a great chance of error in the tabulation of the second, third, and fourth voting, and that is as evidenced in the Oakland School Board race in November of '22, where the election officials admitted 2 months later that they had miscounted the votes, and that the person that was awarded the seat was actually the third place winner, and so they had to reverse that, and the third place winner had to sue to get his seat back on the board. So that's one of the issues. The other one is that many states actually have banned the use of ranked choice voting, so take that into consideration. There must be something that is really suspicious or not good about that. They also say voters get better choices, the proponents do, but actually voters can actually lose their vote in the second or third or fourth tabulation, so it's a non-vote. Campaigns become more civil is what they say. That's kind of hard to believe when you have like a lot more candidates running and a lot more campaigning and a lot more discussion, so that's questionable. They say that it reduces election costs. Again, that's questionable. And since it hasn't been done that often, there's not a lot of facts to back it up. The tabulation costs of the second, third, and fourth voting can certainly add to the cost of the election versus maybe a primary if that's what you want. And that's already on the ballot that the state and other representatives and federal come out on the ballot, the primary ballot. So you just add a few names to the primary ballot, if that's what you want. We question whether ranked choice voting, well, the articles question whether it's even constitutional. States and communities where ranked choice voting has been tested has consistently decreased voter participation in those communities. And in many cases, elections have resulted in more discarded votes. When I looked into the background of who was backing this, that's when I really raised the question, because it's by George Soros. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Custer, followed by Janet Batchelor.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. We don't need to change the way people vote. What we do need to do is ensure that all rules are followed. We need to clean voter rolls, and we need to ensure that only citizens are voting in our elections. Ranked choice voting creates voter confusion. Many do not understand the rules. With ranked choice voting, electors have to be able to list all the candidates in order of their preference. This requires extensive research, especially in less prominent races, something many voters do not take the time to do. It also forces voters to rank candidates that they oppose. Former California Governor Jerry Brown was right in 2016 when he vetoed a bill to expand ranked choice voting in California. Jerry Brown said ranked choice voting was overly complicated and confusing and deprives voters of genuinely informed choice. By the time a voter gets to rank their third and fourth candidate, they're not ranking them because they support them, but only because they have to follow the rules. This is not informed voting. Very few voters actually research more than a few candidates. Also, if a voter's second choice is eliminated in the first round, then their third choice becomes the second choice, potentially casting their vote for someone at the bottom of their list. Also, such a system would present many opportunities to rig the electoral system. It makes it harder to detect election fraud. You can have more votes than voters. Ballot exhaustion is not just a minor problem with ranked choice voting. According to the 2015 study, a substantial number of voters either cannot or choose not to rank multiple candidates, even when they have the ability to do so. Ranked choice voting artificially creates a majority illusion. Voting for the third or fourth choice is not really voting for a candidate, but by default, it gives the illusion that someone is favored by at least 50% of the votes. We need to keep voting straightforward. We need to ensure that all the rules are followed. We need to clean up the voter rolls, and we need to ensure that only citizens are voting in our elections. Ranked choice voting is most definitely not the way to go. And as happened in the race between Bernie Sanders and Pete Buttigieg, this article states, the popular vote was won by Bernie Sanders, but Pete Buttigieg was picked up enough second-place votes to give him more delegates. Both claimed victory. Buttigieg was judged the winner, despite the fact that more voters chose Bernie as their first choice. Thank you.
Thank you. Janet Batchelor.
What happened to the quilt? I'm just curious where the quilt is. No, but I really, I'm a senior advocate, so I know you didn't approve the expansion of the new program or the senior center. However, I would recommend that you look into bringing back the senior commission so that the seniors will have a voice and some advocates, because I just think it's really important. And I don't know if it was 2012, 2013, when the commission was abolished and there was a senior standing committee that was going to be wrapped under the Parks and Rec Commission. I don't think that committee's met in 8 years. So my request is to please bring back the senior commission. Thank you.
Thank you. And I do think that staff is going to be looking at different things. This is the project that you're talking about, the pilot project. That is something that staff is going to be looking at as we move forward. So that's an idea that's in their heads. Thank you. And that is it. So, wait. General council member comments. Okay.
I'm here.
Councilmember Joyce.
Really quick. Always really quick, right? Okay, two meetings that I attended that I wanted to make sure that the council was aware of that was brought up. So in the Housing Commission, as I think we've heard earlier, the inclusionary housing ordinance was brought forward again to staff's attention, and they will be reviewing that policy as a commission at an upcoming meeting. I don't have the date off the top of my head, but there was a renewed interest in renewing that. And the second piece was the Parks and Rec Commission. They brought up several questions about our budget and the approved projects that are going through. I believe they asked for council to consider fully the bathroom situation across the city, that needed another round of consideration. And I'll send the rest of my notes along after the meeting because I can't find them right this second. But they had a very lively discussion about the capital improvements projects within the park space.
Okay, so the next regularly scheduled meeting is at 3:30 on Wednesday, June 7th. So that's an extra week that we have between council meetings. So this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.